Someone make it make sense.
Probably a couple.
Hello, 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 everybody. Get a little bit of music going on here, some night driving. Have you guys ever heard of a red flag warning? I never heard of it. We are on one. Apparently, it's like means that there's like going to be fire. Fire! Had never literally ever heard of that until today. But we are on a red flag warning, so hopefully nothing catches on fire. Shout out to Flash. Good to see you, my friend. Long time no see. By the way, in case you haven't heard, Flash, we have memberships now. And anyone else, not just Flash. I'll go ahead and have Nightbot put that link in the chat for anyone who's interested. We have, forget, 3 levels, I think now. Something like that. So feel free to check those out for anyone who is so inclined. Is this live? What kind of question? Well, I don't understand the question. Shout out to Twiz. Can you elaborate on your question? Yeah, thanks. I mean, I could have had them a long time ago. I just didn't know what to do for them. But honestly, thanks to Twiz's encouragement as well as some other people too, I was like, you know, because people they were like, we're interested. So that was, I am live. I'm live. We are live. So we also have some more. We have a new George command here. Flash says, no, she's streaming from the year 1995. What if I'm simultaneously streaming from the past and from the future? 3025, 1995 and 3025. Ooh, special. That's interesting. Huh. Was the song about Casey Anthony? That's really funny. I don't know how that's funny. I don't know how that would happen. We do have a new Charlie Adelson clip. Let's watch that real quick. By the way, so this is courtroom 23. Time for a squirrel dance party. Oh. That's funny. That's funny. What was I doing? Okay, yes, I'm pausing this because we're going to watch our new Charlie Adelson clip here, which is amazing. Freaking love it. Here we go. Whenever I talk about this theory that I'm like, I don't even know how to explain it because it makes no sense. We're going to one more time. We'll put 2 more speed. This is it. This is the whole thing right here. This is it.
I'm trying to tell her that this is a big deal. Like if we go to the police on the second extortion, they're going to catch the second extortion, and when they catch them, they're going to turn, and the second extortion is going to turn in the first extortion. And then when you catch the first extortion, the police are going to come talk to us, and then when we tell them what happened, you're going to be in a lot of danger. There's no way I can talk to the police. So by catching the second, it's going to turn in the first, and that's exactly what I say in there.
Did that make complete sense to you guys? I can't believe they didn't just let him go, right? We were talking about this last night, how like he did so well on the stand. I mean, that's the defense's theory, right? What you just heard. You must have to be a genius to understand it, because it's way over my head. But considering the crazy theory and the bad facts, he did so well on the stand. I mean, that we were saying how like if it weren't for such bad facts, right? More than likely he would have gotten an acquittal because he did so well on the fucking stand. Love Lonely Island. One song that doesn't get enough love in my opinion is Ross Trent. pretty fucking funny. Interesting. Let him go for the good. Exactly. Bravo! Encore. Let's go for another round. Encore. Right? For real. Yeah, and I was also saying last night too, because like, just like with Katie, similarly to Katie, right? I would bet my violin on the fact that Charlie wouldn't conspire or solicit or be involved in a murder plot ever again. You know what I mean? These are people with no criminal records that, like, but for Donna and Wendy would not be where they are, you know? And so I was saying how, like, I really hate that I feel like it's not quite, like, the LWAP to me, it just doesn't, you know, it's really a shame because there were so many moments on that stand with him where it's like, he's really smart and like, it's just a real fucking shame. Yeah, we're happy you're back, Flash. We missed you as well. So yes, courtroom 23. I was gonna pull something else up too now. I can't remember. There's the courthouse from the outside, obviously. Very different from the courthouse where I live, which looks like a prison. Look at that, state of the art, all that natural light. Oh, congrats to Flash there. That's, I'm going to butcher it. It's for, what is it called again? Oh my God. Something about minister studies, right? Congratulations to Flash. Look, there's some water. You guys thirsty? There's some water for you. By the way, Twiz and Flash, y'all could talk ice cream because I know Flash freaking loves ice cream, and Twiz is very particular about his ice cream. Y'all could have minister's development. So I was on the right track with the minister part. Are you actually a minister though? Because I feel like I would know that. Twiz just ate some. Was it the Umpqua or was it the other one? I forget the other brand that you like. I'm glad you wait, but this is big news. I'm glad you got your ice cream. That's awesome. Which flavor? I'm very happy for you for that. Was it the Tillamook? I remember the other brand, obviously. Are you trying to be a minister? We support everybody for their endeavors. Oh, wow. I literally started singing that and it's the exact place where it was in the song. That's crazy. Cookie dough. Yum. Oh, Blue Bunny. Okay. Yeah, they skimped on the cookie dough. I feel you on that. You know what's funny is cookie dough is always vegan, like the kind that they put in ice cream. So, for example, like, oh, there's a but. Okay. So, like, for example, if you go to like a place like we have here, like Cold Stone Creamery, I haven't been in, I don't even know, since I was in like middle school, but they have like the marble slab or whatever. And like they have like the sorbet. They probably have vegan ice cream now, but back the last time I went, it was sorbet. But like, anyway, if you get sorbet or like vegan ice cream and like you can do like the add-ins, like the frozen cookie dough shit is always vegan. Oreos are always vegan. There's a lot of stuff that's vegan you can get put into ice cream. Okay. There you go. Fingers crossed for the sale. Flash wants some cookies and cream. Okay, so you are endeavoring to be a minister. Well, that's cool. I'm sure you will help a lot of people. I mean, you already do. That's awesome. Twiz is going to get married. Flash might marry them. That's fun. Love that. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, he could fly to Idaho, right? Yeah. There's that lake I can never remember the name of. Starts with an O. Okay, so let's jump into the recap. Let me pause our groovy music here. And let's jump into the recap. Doodly-doo-doo-doo. Doodly-dee. Okay, here we go.
It's a house.
Yep, sure is. So the trash, remember there was the bag of trash that was in the trunk of the car, right? That's one thing. This trash that they're talking about is trash that was found near where the remains were recovered, okay? And there was a lot of trash. In fact, it was shocking how much trash. And there was trash really close to the remains. Now, why does that matter? Well, it matters for a number of reasons. One, it means that people were going through that area. And I think that might be where he's going with this. Because remember, part of the whole problem here is that the state can't, it all comes back to Roy Kronk, and he hasn't testified yet, right? But basically, there's no way that CAYLEE'S body was never in the trunk of the car, okay? And there's no possible way it was at this location the entire time for so many reasons. So because of that, that's why the state was trying to suggest it was like maybe in the car at some point. And there was initially a point where they tried to suggest it was in the backyard, but that was shut down really quickly with their own witnesses because that was a disaster. So the state initially was like trying to be like backyard, then trunk, then woods or something. Anyway, but all of that is because they have a big problem with Roy Kronk and the fact that the body couldn't have been here the whole time. But I think the whole point here with this trash is like, this was a transient place. Like it was right by the side of the road. We've done field trips there. It was really close to the side of the road. And it was like right between like a preschool and a daycare or whatever in this neighborhood. And people are walking and they're, driving. And anyway, so like it was a traverse through area and it wasn't like really well hidden. And so I think part of the point here is all this trash that was found. Was trash and it was really near the body. So it's like, A, why isn't the state presenting it, right? And then B, well, that's part of why, right? Because I think what they're maybe going to show is like people were going through that area and either they were all seeing a body and just ignoring it or it wasn't there, right? But also, additionally, these are all contaminants too, so.
Go ahead and tell the jury what you found.
The liquid within the Gatorade bottle was a whitish, murky kind of liquid. While it was not fully identified, it could have come from some kind of type of cleaning product or cleaning product added to it. Additionally, a mixture of testosterone compounds were identified.
Interesting.
And did you find a syringe as well?
There was a syringe with a needle on it within that bottle, yes.
So people are like doing drugs?
Did you believe the syringe to contain, or did you find the syringe to contain testosterone?
There were within the liquid of the syringe was an oily kind of liquid, yellowish oily liquid, and within that same testosterone compounds were identified.
Okay.
Dr. Legend, can you tell me, please, after reviewing
it's not forensics, it's just
materials that we just referenced, whether or not there were established, published protocols on how to conduct the testing that took place at Oak Ridge National Lab?
There were no formal protocols for the testing that was performed.
Yeah.
And what significance, if any, does that have with regard to results of such a test?
This is important, right? So, because we can expect to hear this at BK's trial, right? In terms of like the shit that was in the transcript, right? That's gonna come out at trial and they're gonna have to actually address this, right? About the protocols and all that, right? So it's going to be a similar thing. I would imagine you're going to hear testimony, right? Well, we already know. We saw from that dude, we read it. Essentially somebody else coming in and saying, yeah, there were no protocols, right? And why that matters. So
protocols on how to conduct the testing that took place at Oak Ridge National Lab.
There were no formal protocols for the testing that was performed.
You were asked about challenges. What did you understand the word challenges to mean when you were answering the question?
Something that was unusual or unexpected about the sample that was being tested.
And what effect do challenges have on the reliability of the study?
Objection to an opinion of reliability. In the
God.
Excuse me, Your Honor, I'm objecting to speaking objections.
Thank you. Me too.
Objection sustained.
Excellent.
Do you recall in March of 2008, you doing any types of searches for any items that might include chloroform?
Yes.
This is crazy.
And could you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury
Oh, where's Waldo?
why you did that?
That's amazing.
Well, I started looking at chlorophyll, and I was concerned about my smallest Yorkie. We have 2 Yorkie puppies, and the
Oh, wait.
smallest one was having some issues.
Hang on. Wait. Hold the fuck on. Back up. What? No.
Could you explain to the ladies and gentlemen
Oh
of
my
the
God.
jury?
Did you guys hear this? All that from the state. You've got to be kidding me. Why? Why? This entire thing, all the testing for chloroform, are you fucking kidding me? How the fuck did this not come out sooner? What? The state, you're gotta be, what? My mind is blown. The jury's gotta be like, you have wasted 5 weeks of our life for nothing.
Why you did that?
What the fuck?
Well, I started looking at chlorophyll, and I was
my
concerned about
God.
my smallest Yorkie. We have 2 Yorkie puppies, and the smallest one was having some issues where she was extremely tired all the time.
Unbelievable.
And both
Unbelievable.
the dogs would eat the bamboo leaves out in the back. So I
my
started
God.
looking up sources from the backyard that could potentially cause her to be more sleepy than it would affect the larger dog.
Oh my
And I
God.
started looking up chlorophyll, and then that prompted me to look up chloroform.
Unbelievable.
Wait, no,
Unbelievable.
I
What?
don't understand how you can get those two mixed up.
Not getting them mixed up. If you look into chlorophyll, there's some bacteria associated with chlorophyll production. And
Oh my God. Oh my
looking
God.
up that,
Oh my
also,
God.
it comes
Oh
from
my
different
God.
species of plants that have
Oh my God.
red and brown coloring.
You've got to be.
And that prompted me to look up chlorophyll because
What is
some
happening?
species of algae
Why are we here?
and seaweeds and stuff produce naturally chloroform.
Oh my God.
And
The thing is this.
how do you know that?
The thing is this. That whole thing was dismantled anyway when it came up in the state's case in terms of the Google searches and the number of times it was searched, which a lot of people still don't understand because they didn't watch the trial. But that was all completely obliterated. But it wasn't even needed in the first place. It wasn't even needed in the first place.
That you ran these searches in March of 2008?
Because I also ran a few other searches at the same time in March. There was a scare about using hand sanitizers around
Oh
small
my
children. There was
God.
an email that went around my employee at my work. One of my nurses had sent me an email knowing that,
Oh my God.
Kaylee was of age that she could be affected if we used hand sanitizer, and she got her hands on it. And that scare came out in March. And during the same time frame that I was looking up the issues about the
Insanity.
dogs, I was looking up ingredients in the hand sanitizer, the alcohol. And then that prompted me to look up other things that we had in the house, like acetone, hydrogen peroxide.
Yep. And all that was in the
running out.
Google searches. Oh my God.
Did you run any other types of
Right.
searches during that time frame
Oh.
that, and I'm specifically referring to March 2008, that
Oh my God.
might have to do with any types of injuries?
Yep.
Yes, a good friend of mine was in a car accident and had multiple chest and head injuries.
Jesus. Yep. How?
And had a lot of blood loss. And I was
Gotta
looking
be
up
kidding.
specific terminology that someone had asked me to look up. And at work, I don't have access to the regular internet. We had our own Dentiva internet. So I had to do those types of searches at home. I couldn't do it at work.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Interesting you bring that up. Have you seen that stain before?
Yes,
This is crazy. Oh my
when
God.
we bought the car.
Oh my God.
So it's
When
your
they
testimony.
bought the car. Oh my God. I'm going to.
That this stain was there when you bought the car.
There was a few little stains in the car when we bought the car, yes.
And when you saw the car again on July 15th, 2008, and you sprayed the Febreze in there, did you see any other stains in addition to the ones that weren't there
Wow.
previously?
I think there was an indentation of a gas can
Of course there was.
temporarily.
Of course there was.
Was it a cylinder?
George's fucking gas can with the same fucking with the same duct tape on it, the Hinkle duct tape. George's gas can.
Stain.
Yes.
Good God. Good night, Denise. Wow. There it is.
Would you say that it would be consistent with
There
this
it is. You guys, wait, there's the gas can.
cylinder type?
Yes.
Oh, George's gas can.
That would be
Flash.
283.
God. Oh my God. Okay, so right now, Flash and Twiz are basically the same person, just saying, with the George thing. George Anthony, you guys.
Did not tell them that you made those searches, correct? I did tell the law enforcement. In fact, I told you
No.
during my deposition in
I
2009
wish Heather was witnessing this moment because she would be dying.
that I made those searches. You told
What? You guys? Just when it's like, I did not even think this prosecution could look any worse. And I'm being proven wrong on
would have been
that.
in September of 2008, whatever date that was. Yes. All right. I take it that you did not tell them
My God.
that you made those searches, correct? I did tell the law enforcement. In fact, I told you during my deposition in
Oh.
2009 that I made those searches.
My
You told me at your
God.
deposition that you searched for chlorophyll, correct?
Yes.
And you spelled chlorophyll for me. You
Yes.
recall that?
Yes.
Do you recall denying that you made any searches for how to make chloroform? I didn't look up how to make chloroform. I looked up chloroform. Okay, and I believe
Did
we talked
you
about it.
input into a Google search engine?
Excuse me.
Unbelievable.
I would ask that the witness be allowed to complete her answer before being
Ma'am,
interrupted
did
by
you-
the prosecutor.
Did you finish answering your question?
I can't remember if she'd asked the question. And if she would read back what I said, then I might know if I had something else to say.
Do you recall denying that you made any searches for how to make chloroform? Answer, I didn't look up how to make chloroform. I looked up chloroform.
That's what she. It's okay, Flash. I was just gonna say, it's kind of just like it become like a joke, the like a meme, if you will, with the George thing and with like who's George. So it's funny. It's funny. I'm glad you said that.
Searches for how to make chloroform. Answer, I didn't look up how to make chloroform. I looked up chloroform.
That's what she said. That's what she said. That's what.
Yes, I looked up chloroform and the, when you look up chloroform, you don't have to look up how to make it on there. It tells you what the chains are.
All right. You testified in the past
Dear
that you
God.
looked up chlorophyll, correct?
Improper impeachment.
I was literally
Correct?
Correct.
just gonna say this is improper impeachment.
At the same time, I looked up chloroform.
You suggested that the Google search engine asked you if you wanted to change the spelling of chlorophyll when you made this search, correct? Because
Correct.
you spelled chlorophyll wrong.
Correct.
Did you input the words into the Google search engine, how to make chloroform?
I don't recall putting in how to make chloroform, but I did Google search chloroform and we talked about it in my deposition.
The question is, and it's a yes or no, did you
Why
type
the
in?
fuck would she remember this though? Right? This is before anything happened. This is in March of 2008. This is so dumb.
To the search bar on Google, how to make chloroform.
Normal.
Question has been asked.
And it's been asked and answered.
Oh, really?
Yes. It's been asked and
Did
answered.
you type those words
No.
into the search bar on Google?
I don't recall typing in how to make chloroform. I recall typing in the word chloroform.
Neck breaking.
I did not search for neck breaking, but I do recall that there was a pop-up that was showing a YouTube regarding a skateboarder that
Wow.
was skateboarding on rails, like if you're going,
Wow.
like a turnstile type rail, if you're going into someplace and the skateboarder. And I recall it saying a neck breaking feat.
Is this something that
Wow.
you're recalling now that you've changed your medication since July of
Oh my
2009?
God.
Again,
Wow. Did you guys hear that? What is happening? What is happening? What? Hang on. Hold the fuck on. What? What is happening? What's going to happen when George takes, because the defense is calling George too, by the way, guys. George is coming up. What's going to happen when George takes a stand? What?
if you're going like a turnstile type rail, if you're going into someplace and the skateboarder. And I recall it saying a neck
You guys
breaking
hear this?
feat.
Listen.
Is this something that you're recalling now that you've changed your medication since July of 2009?
Again,
The
it's
fuck?
not,
Yes?
What? The fuck?
no, I recall that at the time, but you didn't ask me
Okay.
about, I answered your question specifically.
Dear
at
God,
that
the jury doesn't need to know about her fucking changing medication, which happened only because of all this traumatic shit that they went through. Okay. Next episode. Of course, every single time I say that, all I can think about is the song. La da 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 da. Okay, anywho, let's get the banner. Doo-dee-dee-dee-dee. Here we go. Excellent.
Kevin Stenger, Stenger.
You may proceed.
Thank you.
We've
Good afternoon.
just like with every witness in this trial, they testify more than once. We've seen him before with his mustache. He's back again.
You are a computer forensic examiner
I am.
and a sergeant with the police department in Orange County.
I am.
Your Honor, I would ask that the witness be recognized as or re-recognized as a computer forensics expert.
No objections from the state?
No objections.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's still an expert witness. You may continue.
Sir, I'd like to direct your attention to the HP desktop computer in this case, and specifically the net analysis report that was conducted. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay. After the keyword of chloroform was found, you utilized a software called net analysis to recover that, did you not?
We used two different programs to do it.
Okay. The first one was net analysis.
That's correct.
Okay. And the second one was CacheBack.
That's correct.
Okay. The first
CacheBack.
one was done in August of 2008.
I'm not going to be able to tell you the dates.
Okay.
Right. That is why we call him
Do you
George.
have a report of some kind that might remind you or assist you in refreshing your recollection?
I don't recall being the one that actually did the recovery. I am aware of the search, but I don't recall doing this myself.
Okay. Who would have done the recovery then?
It would have been Detective Osborne.
The woman who just left.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you recognize the computer printout on your screen, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Speaking of which, Yuri Malik, which is the lead detective, is also going to be, we're going to hear from him again today too.
What is this that you're looking at?
And that will be his third time for the defense alone.
This is a result of the program when it was run. This would be its printout.
And are you familiar with this document?
I am.
Okay. Is it a fair and accurate representation of the net analysis report that was run?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At this time, Judge, we would move this item into evidence.
What says the state?
Is it just this page that he is asking him to review, or do we have a hard copy of a document?
I have the disc, and I have it put on here on the screen that I'd like to question the witness about.
Has the witness viewed the entire document?
Can you continue going through the documents, sir? Specifically, I'd like to, and I will only be questioning you about the month of March. He's going to scroll down.
Number.
It is marked as an exhibit defense.
Just a second, we go ahead and take care of this other matter. We'll take a recess to 10 minutes to the hour of 4. Thank you. Okay, state recognized presence of the jury. The defense. You may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sergeant Stenger, have you had an opportunity to review Defense Exhibit DK?
I have.
And is it a fair and accurate representation of a report you prepared?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, we would move Defense Exhibit DK into evidence.
You may
BK or
state
DK?
any objections.
I don't object to the relevant portions of that exhibit being introduced into evidence.
You received an evidence. I assume that the state has looked at the exhibit.
There are tabbed pages that Mr. Bias has indicated to me are all he intends to introduce,
Yes.
and I have no objection to those tabbed pages.
Then sit your ass down, Miss Drane-Burrdick. Oh,
And I take it they're untabbed pages.
Yes, sir, and I will not be addressing those.
Oh.
And we can, in fact, take them out, if that makes things a lot
Well,
easier.
take 'em out.
You need to take them out.
Yes, sir.
yeah, take them out. Take them out. Get rid of those pages.
At this time. Okay, sir. Let's get a little background on this item of evidence. Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what it is?
That is a report of the deleted
Oh,
Firefox
she's angry. She's
internet
been
history
angry with this
using a program called net analysis.
because this is a defense's case and she probably,
Software to
and they're slash
CacheBack
everything.
Software, is it not?
That is correct.
And this report was run before you even had the CacheBack, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you met John Bradley at a seminar in December of 2009, correct?
That is correct.
And that would have been after you had completed this report.
That's correct.
And you advised Mr. Bradley that you were having problems with his software, right?
Objected him leading the witness on direct.
Sustain.
Did you advise Mr. Bradley that you were having problems with his software?
Sustain.
What, if anything, did you discuss with Mr. Bradley?
Sorry. Oh my
I
God.
asked
that's
Mr. Bradley
funny.
if
That's
he
funny.
could use his tool to examine the internet history that I recovered from unallocated space. And
That unallocated space.
we had
comes with
encountered
all
a
these
problem
trials,
with
doesn't it,
the
though?
fact that dates and times were not being displayed correctly across the entire spreadsheet, because the time period that this covers is the time period from when daylight savings time changes. So in the tool that I was using to begin with, when I set the date and time, half of it would be correct and half of it would be incorrect.
Great.
So I asked Mr. Bradley if he could use his tool, which was reported to be able to compensate for the fact that these records came from the two different time periods.
And so the only real issue that you were having was daylight savings time.
Yes, sir.
And did the CacheBack software recover more files or less files from the internet history that the net analysis did?
I couldn't tell you that, sir.
Okay. Do you know if they were identical?
If they were identical?
Yes, the same number of files.
I do not.
Okay. And did Mr. Bradley need some time to fix that issue?
I understand he did.
How many days did it take him to fix it?
It was at least a day.
Okay. Did he have to rewrite his software to make it work?
Here's the information.
Detective Stenger, is that based upon your personal knowledge or based upon what someone told you, sir?
That would be based on what someone told me, sir.
Objection sustained.
Did you receive a report that you reviewed when utilizing your opinions that he had to rewrite the software?
Objection sustained. Same question.
Very well, Judge. I'd like to approach the witness, if I may.
You may.
Approach, 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 approach.
To direct your attention to Pontiac. There.
The website is www.sci-spot.com/chemistry/chloroform.html.
Oh,
And how many times does it show that that website was visited?
One, sir.
Now I'd like to show
There
you
you
State's
go.
Evidence
One time.
166.
You may.
I'd like to direct your attention to the same website at 16 hours and 13 seconds.
Yes, sir.
How many times does it show on the, well, actually, what is this item?
This item is the report from CacheBack,
Okay. And the report from CacheBack shows that it was visited how many times?
84.
So there's a difference between the two.
oh. Oh. Okay. All right. So here's what's happening. So the state had gone ahead and done a forensic examination of the Google searches and whatnot, and they found one click or whatever, or one opening of the thing with related to chloroform, which we've now heard was freaking Cindy anyway, right? And then this John Bradley fellow with the CacheBack program that they were talking about, he testified earlier in the trial during the state's case in chief, and he was an absolute fucking disaster. And this is the dude who I referenced him on the last episode because I knew he was going to be coming up or in this testimony. He was the one, he's from Canada and like basically biased as fuck and like wanted to use his brand new software to try to promote it and like be like, oh, it was used in the Casey Anthony trial or whatever. So after they already had done their forensic, whatever they do with the computer, right? And they got one click for that search or whatever, then now the result is different when they run it through the CacheBack, which had all kinds of issues, and it's now 84. Kind of like DNA doubling in size or whatever else.
Seconds.
Yes, sir.
How many times does it show on the, well, actually, what is this item?
This item is the report from CacheBack,
Okay. And the report from CacheBack shows that it was visited how many times?
84.
He's like, huh. Yeah. So also, in case anyone missed it, we I think I have it timestamped. Georgia Kappelman counted 123 times he said extortion on direct examination. 123 times. So yeah.
So there's a difference between the two softwares, is there not?
That is correct.
Okay. And
Wow.
now, on the net analysis report
Elmo. Love you, Elmo.
for 1416 at 13 seconds. And tell me what
I
website that
covered
is.
it, Flash.
Within the net analysis report, there are 4 websites that list the date and time of 1416 at 13 seconds.
The very first one.
Is www.myspace.com.
And how many times does it show? Does this report actually show whether the item was typed in?
It says typed on the report. That is correct.
Okay. And how many times does it show that that website was visited?
84.
So MySpace was visited 84 times
Right.
according to the net analysis
Which
report.
was
That's correct.
Can you look at the CacheBack report
That
and
would
see
be
if that is even on the CacheBack report?
I do not see an entry around the same time.
Okay. So you don't, on the CacheBack report, even see a MySpace with 84 entries.
No, sir, not at that time.
Judge, I'd like to publish
That's
this
funny.
page to the jury so I can
That's
demonstrate
funny.
for them.
You may.
Oh, good. Are you going to use the Elmo? We love the Elmo. We love you, Elmo.
Was that the chemistry, the SciSpot was visited once for chloroform, according to the net analysis report, correct?
That is correct.
and that the MySpace, which is
Crazy.
just 2 columns down, was visited 84 times. Correct?
Oh, it was the MySpace that was visited 84 times, but the cashback thing that sucks fucked it up. And which makes so much sense, doesn't it? Fucking-
Yes, sir.
Now, I'd like to refer you to page
No,
to the-
we're
to
going
the
to do
time
that after we
of
finish with Casey Anthony.
March 20th, 2008, at 13:39 hours and 23 seconds.
Wow. Yeah, it feels like you were gone for 20 years.
Yes, sir.
Yes, this is.
Show it to council.
Mr. Drane-Burrdick is just. Mr. Ashton's also gotten crankier as well. Both of all the prosecutors. We haven't heard from Mr. Georgian in forever, but Mr. Drane-Burrdick and Mr. Ashton have
I
just.
do.
And that is 1 day earlier on March 20th, 2008, correct?
That is correct.
And this is MySpace typed in again, correct?
Yes, sir.
And how many times do you see MySpace the day earlier as
8.
being visited?
83.
So you understand 83 comes before 84, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And of course, July 20th comes before July 21st. I'm sorry. March 20th comes before March 21st.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I'd like to direct you to March 19th, the day before that. At 15:25.
So what he's
56.
showing here is that it's cumulative, that it's adding on. Wow. So like when it says something was visited 50 bazillion times or whatever, right? It's like if it was visited once per day, after that many days, it just keeps adding it on. That's what it's saying.
6 seconds. Yes.
I don't have any.
I'm sorry, at 8:36. Yes. Do
Yes,
you,
sir.
do you see the date, March 19th, the day before that? The day before the 20th.
Yes, I see March 19th
This is
at
gonna be our-
0836.
Thanks for letting us know,
And you see where it
Twiz.
says it was typed.
Yes, sir.
And that basically means that it was typed into the browser.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's the part up top where you write www.myspace.com.
Yes, sir.
Reference
Okay.
to last.
And how many times does it show MySpace was visited then?
82.
Yep, there you go. So 82.
Now I'd like to direct your attention to
Wow.
March 13th
Wow.
at 10:37 a.m.
Wow. So in other words, it's not like it was visited 82 times on one day, 83 times the next day, and 84 times the following day, right? You guys see what I mean? It's just adding it on. Crazy. It's cumulative. That's wild. Oh,
I
not
published
over.
that was typed.
else do.
Do you see any indication of any of these MySpaces on that cashback report?
You wouldn't, except for the one date that it has in common. That one cashback report is for the single day only.
Okay. And that report, let me see if I get, just so we're clear, that report only has for the 21st, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you can't see on that
Oh,
report the natural progression of the MySpaces.
Right.
It starts with, it was visited 81 times, 82 times, 83 times, and 84.
That would only have the information from
Ah.
the history that was on the 21st.
okay.
And on that report, it does not include the MySpace that was visited 84 times.
That is correct.
And that MySpace that was
Yeah.
visited 84 times is just 2 columns down from the size spot, which it says the size spot was visited 84 times.
In the
Interesting.
meta-analysis report, I believe. it's
Wow.
2 columns down.
Wow. Yeah.
And the cashback program is the one you were having problems with.
No, sir. The
Yes, it
meta-analysis
was.
program was the one that was having the problems with the date and time
But
split.
that was only because it was an hour off.
Sustain,
What was it? Because it was just an hour off.
Yes, sir.
sustain.
What was the reason?
We were having problems with the dates and times.
And you don't know if the net analysis report came up with, well, now you know that the net analysis report came up with more internet history than the cashback did you not? Can you see that now?
The reports are different.
And that report, you prepared the cashback report, right?
I created the cashback report. That's correct.
Okay. The one that's in evidence in this case for this jury to consider, you prepared that report.
That's correct.
But you didn't testify to this jury about that report, did you?
No, sir.
Okay.
And this report that was prepared, States Exhibit 165. May I approach the witness?
You may.
You
prepared that report as well, didn't you not, sir?
I did.
And that's the report. What is that actually? So
That is a CacheBack report for March 17th.
okay. And you prepared that report.
That is correct.
It's an item of evidence in this case.
Yes, sir.
And you didn't testify to this jury about the contents of that report either.
That is correct.
Mr. Bradley did.
It's my understanding he did.
Do you know the reason why they called in Mr. Bradley to testify about your report?
Sustained.
If he's aware, Judge?
The witness is not competent to answer that question. Objection sustained.
Yes, sir. If I can have just one moment, Judge. Maybe.
You may.
Oh, I see what you're saying. He rephrased them though. He rephrased them and kind of laughed, which was funny. Love bias so much.
Have you ever had another computer expert testify about your reports?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
If I may approach, I just want to recover. I don't believe I have any further questions.
Cross-examination.
Thank you. Detective Stenger, you may have printed out that CacheBack report, but the data contained in it was collected by Mr. Bradley?
Sustained. Rephrase your question.
How is it that you prepared a CacheBack generated report? Did you have that software?
Yes.
Okay. And so what process was it that was utilized in order to prepare filtered reports from CacheBack from March 17th and March 21st of 2008?
I simply set the program up to display only that information from those dates and printed the report.
Okay. The information contained on the report was provided to you by Mr. Bradley?
I actually created the report myself.
The information that goes into the report was nothing that you had worked on, correct?
The program itself generated this information.
All right. Why is it then that you had Mr. Bradley look at your data?
I asked Mr. Bradley to examine the data since he was the person who actually wrote the software. If I had a question regarding an Apple computer and I had the ability to ask Steve Jobs, who is the creator of Apple Computer, I would have done so. The same thing if I had access to the developer of the program, I would ask the developer of the program if he or she was available to examine it if they were willing to do so. And in this case, Mr. Bradley was.
May I have page 1 of the defense exhibit, the one that was highlighted in green and red? And may I publish that to the jury, Your Honor?
You may. And what's the exhibit number?
It's the last number. Let me first ask the witness, do you see that?
I do now.
Oh, I'm trying to use that to scroll down. Can we scroll up on this to wherever the page in evidence ends?
Why are you struggling so much? Oh, I hate her.
Wherever the page that is in evidence ends.
She's second. Wendy's always going to be the worst. She's second worst in my book.
Do you see displayed on this page that was introduced in evidence any of the Google searches that were conducted on March 21st of 2008?
Are you saying wow because I hate her? That's funny.
Approximately 8 rows above is a Google search.
Wait, what? Why are you doing? What
Are
do you
the
mean?
Google searches for how to make chloroform displayed on this page in evidence presented by the defense?
Hi, Carla. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
If you can expand the column H. Right above the
Oh,
space,
yeah.
you will see
Oh,
a
right.
Google search
Yeah.
specifically for the words how to make chloroform
Talking to Miss Drane-Burrdick.
spelled with an A.
May I publish this to the
Talking to
jury,
Miss
Your Honor?
Drane-Burrdick.
Of direct.
He's like, I can't get the thing to scroll.
All right, since that's been expanded, can you tell the jury what it is that you were just referring to, the how to make chloroform right above the MySpace entry?
When you type a search into Google, you will see the results of the words that you type in the bar right above when your search returns. And that includes all the words that you actually type into the search. In this particular instance, the words how to make and chloroform were entered.
Would it appear that way if somebody typed in a search regarding chlorophyll?
No, it would not.
What is it that you can do in net analysis to determine whether or not the dates and times that appear on net analysis are accurate?
You can simply go in and take a look. Software constantly gets revised, and this would have been several years ago. Since then, changes have been made to different programs that are used. So normally all you do is you go in and you compare the dates in an effort to see if they're accurate or not.
Do you have confidence that
This
the
is-
dates
this
and
is more
times on this
solid, right?
analysis report are correct? Or would you rely on the report from CacheBack as to the date and times for these searches or these entries in the internet history?
I don't even know if cell phones existed. Were they still using like cups
The
with a
dates and
string?
times on these two different reports
2001?
appear to be accurate. I can't speak to how they were interpreted by the different programs since I
Isn't
actually
this
did not
just like what we hear in
For the-
every trial?
for either program.
Every trial.
Which
Almost.
column on this piece of evidence displays the date and time that
This
this
is ve-
internet history?
This is very
was
reminiscent
made?
of Karen Reed.
Can you scroll all the way up to the top of the column?
Here, I'll unpublish that. And does that
That's a really
assist you
good.
in
That's
refreshing
that's
your
a really
recollection?
that's a really
And we
good
can scroll back.
question. That's a really good question. Can she? Because I don't know that she can. Is a valid question on his part.
To the part that's in evidence.
Because she has a hard time.
May I republish that?
You may.
Which column would that be? You can
Um,
use the telestrator if need be.
The first column, 14, 16, 34.
Did I accurately place a box around that?
Yes.
So even in the net analysis, the times between the myspace.com entry and the next how to make chloroform are 20 seconds apart.
Yes, ma'am.
No other questions, Your Honor.
Literally have no idea what that was supposed to prove.
Redirect on those issues and those issues alone.
A brief redirect, I think,
may.
here. Up next, oh God, we're just dropping things. Up next, we will hear from some FBI agents outside the presence of the jury. And then it's Cindy Anthony again.
The visits for chloroform that are on the net analysis report show that on March 21st of 2008, those were the very first time those websites were visited. Shows only one time, right?
In which report?
For the net analysis report. Can you see that?
I don't have that up on screen.
Get it on the
May I
screen.
publish to the jury as well?
What are you going to publish?
She was
the item
back
that's,
last
in
episode
evidence
too.
defense.
She just comes back all the time. She
I
just
believe
can't
it's
get away from
for
it.
that.
Madam Clerk.
We're gonna, like I said,
Yes, you may.
we're gonna hear from George. I don't think we'll hear from George today.
All of these websites were just visited once.
We hear from Cindy and Lee today. though.
According to the net analysis report, correct.
And then this right here, maybe the second time. Correct?
Yes, sir.
And the total amount of time spent on those websites, could you look at that and see approximately how much time anyone spent looking at chloroform?
Mhm.
We're moving on.
Yeah, the defense has called Cindy Anthony twice so far. This will be the third time they've called her. Pretty sure.
Approximately 3 minutes.
3 minutes of time. Now,
Right.
your
Right.
cashback
Thank
doesn't
you,
show the
Carla.
MySpace entry. You purchased this after you
Insane.
purchased the net analysis software,
That's correct.
and it doesn't have certain items. That,
And this is exactly why
correct.
Miss Drane-Burrdick is the
I
worst.
gotta get your cash back.
One of many reasons. There's a lot of them.
Sustained.
Now, sir, were there any other issues that you had with the cashback program?
I didn't encounter any problems with the cashback program.
And the only problems that you had with net analysis was just the time.
That's correct.
No further questions.
Okie dokie.
Recross.
It's true, is it not,
No,
that
why?
even if
God damn it.
the consecutive entries on an internet history show that those were done in a 3-minute time span, that doesn't negate the fact that the user could just be opening up new tabs in their internet search, correct?
That's correct.
So each of these tabs can be open for minutes or hours until the person decides to close the tab again, correct?
Correct.
So the fact that these entries are in the internet history shows that they were done in a particular sequence, but tells us nothing about how long that person spent
How long?
reading whatever was on the web page or whether or not they actually printed that item for
Oh my God. The
subsequent
printing thing is
education.
so fucking
That's
dumb.
correct.
Look, the thing is this. Cindy Anthony testified to making those goddamn searches. I'm sorry. I'm over it. Is the fact that she's still suggesting the printing thing. That was dumb the first time in their case in chief. That was so dumb. Like, what? That's really what you're going to say? Like, but beyond that, let's just say that Casey is some secret mastermind chemist and wants to like, has a secret laboratory, like, you know, like Dexter's laboratory style, right? With like the green smoke and all that, like with like the beakers or whatever they call them, right? And she's down there in her lab coat. I'm going to make chloroform. You know what? There's no evidence of anything that it would take to actually make chloroform or a purchase of chloroform. Nothing, literally. It's just these searches, which Cindy made. I don't have the patience for it. Like,
issue.
It's just
This report here, does that give you any indication about this tab stuff?
No, sir.
So what was just asked of you, that's pure speculation, is it not? You don't know if that ever happened.
I do not know if that happened.
And you're a detective, you're a
Rereader.
sergeant involved in this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
And has anyone ever informed you that through the search warrants or at any time, there was any pages recovered that were printed out that has anything to do with chloroform?
right.
Nobody informed me of that.
No further questions.
And Twiz, thank you, Twiz, because Twiz has also let us know that you made chloroform, you search anyway. Yeah, I know. It's again, what are we in Victorian England? Like, it's just the dumbest fucking thing. All of it is dumb about the chloroform. Literally all of it. All of it's dumb. Yeah, I'm not up to speed on the Brian Walsh case. Oh my God. Yes, Twiz. Cost long to drive from Pullman to Lewiston. There you go. There you go. Okay, so we are on to these FBI peeps. Let me just see here. Hang on just a sec. Where did it go? Where did my thing go? Hang on. I had it pulled up. Give me just a second. Let me pull it back up here. Had it ready to go and it's disappeared on me. All right, let's see. Okay, here we go. Close captioning. Okay. Here we go.
And
Here we go.
evidence control unit, not analyst, but officer Erin Martin. They're both sitting out there. As to our information, they have no first-hand knowledge of anything. Everything they know is what they were told. So we just request that there be a proffer so that we have a more orderly presentation. To the jury in
Proffer.
5 minutes. And if their testimony is not admissible, then they can go about their business and go home.
Mr. Mason, will you be conducting the direct of those individuals?
Oh, Mr. Mason,
Let me hear what
yay.
they have to say.
Okay, so we're getting into a proffer with these FBI agents. Sweet.
Well, they claim I have no reason. I don't know what they're going to testify to. Their state claims is hearsay. I have no idea what they're going to testify to.
I'll clarify for Mr. Mason, if you like. The only thing Erin Martin does with the FBI is take in evidence packaged by other people and send it to different parts of the FBI crime laboratory. She doesn't do analysis. She doesn't examine anything. So I can but assume that the defense is going to try to get into some aspect of what she was told by someone, since she has absolutely no firsthand knowledge of anything. And so that's why I requested the proffer, because I do believe that my knowledge of her is accurate, and I would ask counsel to proffer what testimony will be.
An interesting process. I didn't tell him in advance what's coming.
I love him.
Dick Savage is an FBI agent.
I love him.
We have
I love him.
testify about certain activities that he did at the request of the prosecution.
Nick
And
Savage. Why
also
did
that, Miss Erin
name
Martin from
guys?
the
We know
FBI
him. We
would
know him.
testify about what she did in that response.
Nick Savage.
I'm not talking about one saying what somebody else did. I'm bringing the witnesses that did it.
And again, there's question of the relevance of that, because we already had one experience with counsel trying to get into whether an FBI agent asked somebody to do a paternity test. And the court already ruled that that fact was not relevant, that what the officer asked was not relevant, that what the analyst did was. My concern is that we're going back there again. And I just thought it would be a more orderly presentation if we addressed it outside the presence of the jury. And if the court deems it's admissible, fine. If it deems it's not, then we haven't wasted time jumping up and down. And
Okay, that makes sense because Lee Anthony is going to be coming up soon here as well. I wonder if that's what they're going to get into, the fact. So going along with the whole incestual George thing, right? Like there was a paternity test. The FBI did a paternity test for Lee Anthony to see if he was CAYLEE'S dad. So
running to the sidebar. That's my suggestion.
Your Honor, it would appear to me that when an FBI agent has memorialized in
I don't
an
even
email
know what cheese
words to the fact when they're asked about photographs to construct, in short version and Proffer, create a murder weapon with tape. And they respond, we'll just tell them we didn't take the pictures. That's pretty relevant to me, to the entire integrity of this case. I'll be happy to show you the emails now, if you wish.
Oh my God, hold on. I want
case isn't on track.
Hold on. What did he say?
In short version and Proffer, create a murder weapon.
Hang on.
Words to the fact when they're asked about photographs to construct, in short version and Proffer, create a murder weapon with tape. And they respond, we'll just tell them we didn't take the pictures. That's pretty relevant to me, to the entire integrity of this case.
Oh, wow.
I'll be happy to show you the emails now.
Correct, Carla. Yep. That's the brother.
Isn't on trial. The facts are
Are
on
you
trial.
joking?
The bias and credibility of individual witnesses have testified is on trial, but the
By the way, there's George in the back on the right-hand side. Did you guys hear this? You've got to be kidding.
Integrity of this case.
Oh
I'll
my
be
God.
happy to show you the emails
Oh my God.
now, if you wish.
the integrity of this case isn't on trial. The facts are on trial. The bias and credibility of individual witnesses have testified is on trial, but the integrity of whatever it is isn't on trial, which is why
I'm just shaking my head. I don't even have words.
I requested a proffer, and I would just ask the witness to be called, to be proffered, the court can make an intelligent, informed ruling.
Wow. Wow.
What is your pleasure, Your Honor?
I'd like to hear it.
Thank
I
God.
want to hear it now.
I can hear it now. You can hear it 8:30 in the morning, but we're going to start testimony at 9.
Let's go for it right now.
Okay.
FBI agent Nick Savage.
Here we go. Nick Savage. We're going to find out if we know him from something. The name rings a bell.
Nikolas, N-I-C-K-O-L-A-S, middle initial B, Savage, S-A-V-A-G-E.
Is a
You may
K.
proceed, Mr. Mason.
You tell us your name, please, sir.
Yes, sir, Nikolas Savage.
Mr. Savage, are you the lead FBI agent in connection with the investigation in the state of Florida versus Casey Anthony?
Wow.
I was during my time when I was actually assigned to the Tampa Division and the Orlando Resident Agency.
In general, on the short version, what was your role?
I was the Crimes Against Children coordinator. I was also the Innocent Images case
boy.
agent, as well as
boy.
the National
Oh,
Center
boy.
for the Analysis of Violent Crime
boy.
coordinator.
Do you recall, sir, whether or not
He's
in February of 2009, you attended a meeting with various members of the prosecution team?
I recall being in a meeting where prosecutors were present, yes.
Do you remember a discussion regarding whether or not it's possible that duct tape could have covered the mouth and nose of this child?
Discussions with prosecutors are brought.
Mr. Mason? Objection to work product.
Yeah, you
I
don't.
guess it could be. That's a shame. Yes, sir. Okay.
Be sustained under work product.
As a result of your attendance of the meeting, sir, what, if anything, did you do?
Could you be more specific as to what meeting we're referring to?
Pardon?
Could you be more specific as to which meeting you're referring to?
The meeting, well, that we can't identify now. Meeting with the prosecution's the team, sir. Did you
Wow.
thereafter solicit and try to find some photographs of them?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you do in order to find those photographs for the prosecution?
I would have coordinated with Karen Cowan, who had day in and day out contact with the lab.
Did you make a specific request for pictures that may have been taken by the Orange County Medical Examiner's Office, specifically photos with scales?
There were questions. Could you repeat the question, please?
Did you make a specific request to locate photographs that may have been taken by the medical examiner's office here?
Possibly, yes.
You remember, sir, requesting of Karen Lowe or Erin Martin, either of them, for the photographs that should have been taken, showing scale sizes of the duct tape?
There was a request made to the lab, yes.
And do you recall the reason that you asked for that duct tape, those photographs, sir?
I asked for them because I didn't believe that those photographs had been taken up until that point.
Did you receive a responding email from Erin P. Martin of the FBI?
I don't believe so.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
I want to show you what has been marked.
Counsel, look at the two. This witness is not in the two line on the email. Karen Lowe, Brian Carroll, Elizabeth Fontaine. Yeah. Doesn't reflect Nikolas Savage, this witness.
I'm going to ask him if he's seen the email. Then that's why I've got Erin Martin here.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Show you what's been marked, sir. The DL identification has if you recognize.
Top chat is
recognize
the
it, yes.
worst.
Did you receive a copy of this yourself?
The first time I had seen it when it was shown by members from your office. I hadn't seen it prior to that.
And do you recall the circumstances? No, does this refresh your recollection of the transaction?
Can I see it, please?
I don't think the witness has indicated any failure of recollection that needs to be refreshed, so I would object to that.
Overruled. This is a problem.
Oh, yes, sir.
This is the first time I've seen this email. This is not the one I looked at earlier.
I'm so close to you, I can't hear you. What did you say?
That was the first time that I've seen that email.
That's all the questions I need of this witness is proper, Your Honor.
And if the court wants me to address the admissibility issues now, I don't have any questions for the witness. I don't know what counsel thinks is admissible in that, but I guess I'll wait till maybe after he argues, I'll call the witness back if I need to, but not seeing it.
I'm going to ask Erin Martin to come in for the proper.
Okay. The agent may stand down.
Thank you.
Tell us your name, please, ma'am.
It's Erin Martin, ERIN-MARTIN.
How are you employed, ma'am?
I am a request coordinator with the Federal Bureau of Investigations Laboratory.
Do you have recollection regarding the date of February the 6th, 2009, sending an email to Karen Lowe by chance?
Not to my recall, no.
I was wondering how magnificent the guys approach the bench, Your Honor. Show you.
You may.
Identification exhibit DM. Look at that. Tell us if you recall that, ma'am.
Yes.
Would you read it for the court, ma'am, what you said?
Hey, Karen, I decided not to give the measurements to Nick that Brian emailed us. I'm sorry,
Slow it down so the court reporter can take it down.
of course. Hey, Karen, I decided not to give the measurements to Nick that Brian emailed us since it is part of your case notes and it doesn't appear that the JPEGs were saved. I didn't want to overstep my bounds when it comes to the case notes. I'll just tell Nick that LPOU had no photographs and that TEU had some info on the tape and to discuss it with you. I don't understand why the ME's office didn't take any scaled photos of the tape when it was on the skull. EPM.
And you sent that to Miss
Oh
Karen
my
Lowe, that's
God.
it.
Oh my God. Of
Correct.
course they didn't. Jesus Christ. How?
Who is Nick you're referring to?
Special Agent Nick Savage?
Gentleman just walk out past you.
Yes.
Good night, Flash.
And what does LPOU mean?
Latent
Wow. So the medical examiner, Dr. G, who was awful, didn't take any photographs of the duct tape on. I mean, okay, right. I mean, it really shouldn't be surprising at this juncture because everything is a mess. Yeah, as far as Top Chat goes, I feel like I don't always check. You know, I don't always remember and check, but whenever I do check, regardless of whether I'm on my phone or my computer, I'm always in Top Chat. So I would assume probably that's like the default, but it's just for me, I don't always look. But if I do ever look, that's where I'm at. And it doesn't matter which device I'm using. But that's just what I've noticed. So good night to Flash.
Print Operations Unit,
And what does TEU mean?
Trace Evidence Unit.
Do you have any other involvement in that process than what you just said in that, read in that email?
I'm sorry, could you
Do
rephrase?
you have any other involvement in that process other than what you just read in the email you sent back?
Dr. G as
In
in
the
Dr.
case?
Garavaglia.
This part of it?
Medical-
No, not with the tape, no.
Different Dr.
Alright.
G.
That's all I have from that witness. Thank you.
The argument is
Okay.
calling her, but at this point, no.
So now they're going to argue, I guess.
Would be both relevance and hearsay. And the relevance I don't see, but I'm sure counsel will suggest something and I'll argue, but clearly.
Let's take up Mr. Savage first as to the state's objection and the 9401 relevancy. What does Mr. Savage's testimony tend to prove or disprove?
Interesting.
Dealing with a material fact.
Is Heather
The
here?
material fact in this case is whether there is or is not, as example, a murder weapon. Mr. Ashton has tried to create the existence of one by saying that he had a theory that the tape could be a murder weapon and made a specific request to try to get photographs to prove his theory rather than get the evidence and see what it proves itself. And he's asked for the photographs, and he asked Nick Savage, who coordinates it, because all the evidence was sent to the FBI crime lab, and to find it and see if there were photographs with scales on it to show the actual scale measurements as related to the skull, supposedly taken by the medical examiner's office. We've heard conflicting testimony about that. The response he gets back is, in salient points, we'll just say we don't have the pictures.
Yeah.
To me,
great.
That's pretty outlandish.
It is.
And, you know, it occurs to me that it's not simply a matter of hiding behind a work product, but whether or not it should have been and was in fact produced to us by the base stamp they're on as potential Brady material. Brady versus Merrill. It's trying to create something. And that's the evidence that catches them trying to create it.
So relevance is an attack upon the prosecution, an allegation that the prosecution has done something wrong.
Not
even if
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Even if that were true, still wouldn't be admissible because attacks upon counsel are specifically prohibited. I do think that if counsel will read the email more carefully, he will see that this is an attorney in a case, and I appreciate the fact that he thinks that I'm the one that thought of this, and I wasn't, but appreciate the compliment. Trying to pursue what evidence is available.
Look at his
I'm hard
face.
pressed to see what.
Oh my God.
What counsel would object to that? It would seem that any good attorney representing a client would attempt to explore available information to prove a material fact in a case. But be that as it may, it clearly is not relevant to a material fact in this case, and therefore should be entirely excluded.
Okay, so you're talking about Exhibit 313. Let me just clarify this. So that's not even accurate. This is so messed up, right? There was no sticker found on the duct tape. The sticker that was found was on a piece of cardboard, which was like for a sign for like a nearby daycare or whatever. That's where the heart sticker was. That was not part of the duct tape. The sticker was on a piece of cardboard, and the cardboard was for a sign for like a daycare. What happened in terms of the tape is that one of the FBI agents testified that she's noticed a faint outline of a heart on the tape, but only mentioned that after learning that there was a heart-shaped sticker found at the crime scene, and that she didn't get a picture of it. And then when she decided to get a picture of it later that same day or whatever, after it went through some other departments as they process things, it had vanished. The outline had vanished. And that duct tape, by the way, was not even the duct tape found on the remains. It was the duct tape found like 8 feet from the remains. So I just want to make sure that's clear.
Anything else, Mr. Mason?
Yeah.
The prosecutor would like to know if any of you had taken pictures, parent that with scale and parent that, of the tape as it was received
Not
to
your
show the
fault.
full length and
Not your fault, Carla, because this is the way people talk about it. Like, again, it's just, it's Exhibit 313. And the other thing, right? For anyone who missed it, right, during the state's case in chief, that's the exhibit. That's why I can remember. I'll never forget that exhibit. That's the exhibit that the state tried to sneak in without showing it to the jury. They talked about it, they admitted it into evidence, and they did not present it to the jury. And the jury sent a note to the judge and said, excuse me, knock, knock, excuse me. Hey, can we see Exhibit 313, please? Because it was like, it was a huge point of contention that all these witnesses came in and testified about it. And then they heard them admit it into evidence. And said, can we please see Exhibit 313? Because they knew that they realized the prosecution was trying to sneak it from them. And then they got to see it. Oh, and by the way, it's not the type of stickers that were found in Casey's room. Those were flat stickers, like kind of like a stamp. The heart-shaped sticker that was on the piece of cardboard was akin to one of those kids' press-on earrings. I did a whole thing on it. I actually found like the exact earring, like or almost identical earring of, it's like the kind I used to have as a kid. They're like the jelly, they're beveled, they're raised, they're like jelly, like 3D, and they're press-on stickers for earrings. That's what it was. Anyway, okay.
Width of tape pieces before they were separated. They are ESP interested in the width info.
Yeah, it's because of Nancy
They
Grace.
want to
Yes,
know
you're
if it
very
would be
welcome.
possible for the tape as it was to cover both the mouth and nose areas. They would need the measurements, photos with
Copy
scale in
ones.
order to do some computerized recreation images of the
I've got a picture saved. Let me go see if I can find the picture.
skull with tape. The ME's office only took initial photos of tape on the skull without scale, and they didn't measure it because they thought the full measures would be done by us. Would you guys review your notes and give Nick a call on his cell phone with his number? Thanks. Sorry, Karen will probably speak with you when you're back about requesting some exams of the on S in the trunk area. And then the response is from the FBI on this very important matter. I decided not to give the measurements to Nick that Brian emailed us, etc. You have that in front of you. No, it's not a matter of attacking a prosecutor. It's a matter of attacking apparently the whole system. Okay. We have someone trying to create something that's not there and then saying, I'll just tell Nick that LPOU had no photographs and TEU has some info on the tape and to discuss with.
Okay, I got it. I'm glad. When I saved this, I was like, I'm going to want to have this. Don't get rid of this. So I just have to unshare, reshare, and I will show you guys. Here we go. So I made this. This is a composite, if you will. This is a composite. All right, of all the hearts that are in this trial. So on the left, we've got the stickers that were found in Casey's room. They're akin to stamps, right? There's like flat ones. There's like the gold ones, and then there's like the purple ones. There's also this one in the middle that was found on a letter or something, okay? They're flat, like a stamp. Now, what you're seeing on the right-hand side is Exhibit 313. So there's the piece of cardboard. It was a sign for like the daycare. Now, when this piece of evidence was collected, the sticker was attached to the piece of cardboard, but then they had to separate them to examine them. So this sticker, as you can see, it's one of those press-on earrings. This sticker, and it's tiny, right? It was on the cardboard thing, but they had to separate it to examine it. And so it's a raised edge, it's a beveled edge, and so not even on duct tape, right? I mean, so this is Exhibit 313. Yep. You know what's so funny? Jelly shoes. Twiz, did you see this? I was just talking to Twiz about the jelly shoes. That is so funny that you just mentioned that, because I have a whole story about the high heel jelly shoes, is what we called them when I was in second grade, and how I boycotted them. Anyway, I mean, I guarantee you that there's not a single statement she said about this entire case that was not a complete fabrication. I guarantee you. Yeah, Twiz can second me on that. That's really funny. That was like, I don't know, a couple days ago we were talking about that. So, and I was saying how like they were just awful and so uncomfortable. Yeah, right. Yeah, lies. He's trying to be Nancy Grace right now. Yeah, my friend and we boycotted them and like started a petition, because it was like the friends would like disown you if you didn't wear certain things, you know, back in the day, like in second grade. It was like everybody had them, and we were like, we refuse. I only wear Doc Martens. I mean, well, back then that wasn't the case, but whatever. Anyway, so there you go, guys. We do our best to make sure that we have everything we need. In other words, I can tell you what these things look like, but I'm like, let me just show you guys so you can see it for yourselves. So I'm glad I saved that picture for that exact purpose, so that, you know, yeah, there you go.
With you. I don't understand why the ME's office didn't take any scale photos of the tape when it was on the skull.
Crazy. They didn't take any scaled photos of the tape when it was on. I just can't.
Florida Statute 90.41 defines relevant evidence. It is defined as evidence tending to prove or disprove a material fact. The defendant in this case, Casey Marie Anthony, has been charged with a 7-count indictment, accusing of the crimes of murder in the first degree, aggravated child abuse, aggravated manslaughter, and 4 counts of providing false information to a law enforcement officer. The court, after hearing the testimony of Mr. Savage, finds that testimony does not go to proving any material issue, in fact, dealing with the 7 counts or the indictment, nor does it go to impeachment on any relevant or material issues. Assuming for the moment this evidence was evidence of an attempt to fabricate evidence, then that would be the subject of a motion to dismiss based upon prosecutorial misconduct, which there is no evidence of that. But assuming if you could stretch your imagination to go that far, that would be the subject of a motion to dismiss. This particular evidence does not go to any material issue. In fact, if it goes to any material issues, they are purely collateral issues, which have no bearing on either the credibility or believability of any witness. Therefore, the objection will be sustained as to that particular testimony by that witness on that subject matter, which was proffered. All right, the next witness, let me hear arguments about that. I believe Ms. Martin.
They would make the same arguments. Every bit of information that she has is something that she was told by someone else. Whatever, well, again, I'll just have to wait and see what the relevance argument is before I can address that, because I quite frankly don't see it, unless it's the same one we just heard, in which case my arguments would be the same.
Yes, sir.
I remember the vigorous objections we made, in fact, motion for mistrial regarding the photo image
Motion for a mistrial.
superimposition presented here in this courtroom of the prosecution theory trying to use the tape and over a skull over the child's head. And that's the very issue that this also goes to. They didn't have it. They didn't have medical examiner photographs with scales. They didn't have their own, and that's what has just been established. I'd ask you to reconsider on that basis as well.
I don't believe it's a surprise to anyone in this courtroom that there were no photographs with scale of the 3 pieces together. I hope counsel will acknowledge having known that for approximately the last 3 years. So I'm not quite sure what counsel.
He's wearing that ugly tie again, which we, by the way, we found that exact tie on the internet one time.
The court will stand behind this previous ruling. Let's deal with the next witness. Defense has any comments concerning
Next witness is
the
Cindy.
testimony of the last witness whose testimony was proffered? Again, that particular testimony is not relevant in material, does not tend to prove or disprove any material fact, nor does it goes based upon what was proffered.
Oh, the court audio cut out for a second there.
Again, the evidence does not meet the test under 90.401 dealing with relevant evidence based upon the proffer. Anything else for the balance of the day?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Pardon? Mr. Baez, Mr. Mason, Ms. Sims?
Just have a nice evening, sir.
I'm going to try to. Court will be in recess.
Okay. Oh, wait, one last thing, as they said.
One last thing. Tomorrow you need to tell me and be prepared to go to 2:33.
Okay, that's fine. So now we're on to another day. And another Cindy Anthony. Here she is, Mrs. Anthony.
Please court. Ms. Drane. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, wait, we need to do a swoop. Hold on. We need to do a swoop. And we're going to do for our swoop, we're going to do, just because it was so freaking amazing, we're going to do this little clip here of Charlie. Whenever I talk about this theory that I'm like, I don't even know how to explain it because it makes no sense. We'll listen one more time. We'll move to proceed. This is it. This is the whole thing right here. This is it.
I'm trying to tell her that this is a big deal. Like if we go to the police on the second extortion, they're going to catch the second extortion, and when they catch them, they're going to turn, and the second extortion is going to turn in the first extortion. And then when you catch the first extortion, the police are going to come talk to us. And then when we tell them what happened, you're going to be in a lot of danger. There's no way I can talk to the police. So by catching the second, it's going to turn in the first. And that's exactly what I say in there.
Makes perfect sense to me, right? All right. That was our swoop. Here we go.
Good morning, Mrs. Anthony.
Good morning.
I wanted to talk to you, ma'am, about
Seems to be like trying to let him know there's something that is not working or something.
the
Interesting
shorts that CAYLEE'S was found in when they found her remains off Suburban Drive. You've seen a photograph that's been introduced into evidence of those shorts, correct?
Yes.
And you
I don't
testified previously that the
remember
shorts no longer fit her.
I testified that she was at
Interesting.
the last time I saw her, she was in 3 toddlers, 3 teeth.
I remember that testimony.
And though that photograph
I
was
would
taken,
not, I would not think Twiz is a bow tie wearer, but I could be wrong. As my mom always used to say, I was wrong once, because it's fucking funny. So, you know.
you said early 2007.
Yes, I believe it was spring of 2007.
Is Kaylee like every other child that grows incredibly fast or grew incredibly fast?
Kaylee was on the high end of the growth chart, yes.
And that day when that photograph was taken, you actually videotaped her on that day, did you not?
Yes.
Okay. And I'd like to bring up the video so you can see and identify.
The relevance.
Are you fucking kidding me?
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mrs. Anthony, you've had a chance to review this video,
Yes.
correct? And it is the video that's marked.
I will say, I just want to note for anyone who hasn't watched this entire trial, because I don't blame you if you haven't, but like, you know, glad you're watching with us now. During the state's case in chief, again, Cindy Anthony testified a bazillion times. Never once. And it was always Miss Drane-Burrdick who would be questioning her under direct, okay? Never once did the state, Miss Drane-Burrdick, right, in this case, ever once offer any type of condolences or anything for their loss, for everything they've been through, which they've been through a lot, okay? And in fact, we heard just in the last episode, Miss Drane-Burrdick put her on blast for changing up her medications and whatnot. Like, what the fuck? However, it was Mr. Baez who, during the state's case in chief, right, when it was, you know, his first opportunity to cross-examine Cindy, the first thing he did was offer genuine sympathy. I mean, it's just, anyway, just wanted to note that. And you can tell that she is way more comfortable with him than she is with Miss Drane-Burrdick. And I understand why.
That's EH.
That's cute.
Mrs. Anthony, may I approach the witness room?
You may.
Okay, they're going to get this into evidence, potentially. A little DVD situation.
Size was back in early 2007.
Yes.
And is it a fair and accurate representation of what occurred of her size and everything, her interaction?
Yes.
Judge, at this time, we would move defense item EH into evidence.
It'll be entered in evidence.
Video, guys.
As defense numbered.
We would at this time like to publish that video to the jury.
Video. Whee! Video time.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Can we see it, please? Hold on. Sorry. Let me slow this down. I have it sped up because, you know, usual trial. So let's watch this at normal speed so it doesn't look weird.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Play.
The state objected to this, by the way, as you guys heard. The objection was overruled because they're trying to see the shorts, but you can see why the state objected, right? Just beyond the death penalty case, people. Like, you got to be kidding me. They don't want it's. God forbid, right?
Mrs. Anthony, how much had Kaylee grown since this video was taken?
She's grown quite a bit.
Okay. And how do you know this video was taken in early 2007?
No.
The date stamp on it says April 2007. And I remember the clothes I was wearing at that time. the skirt that I
That's
was
what
wearing.
she just said, but April 2007 is when that video was taken. The point being, these are the shorts I think her remains were found in. And it's an oddity, right? Because she would have been too big for those shorts. So why was she wearing them? That's the point they're getting to. Because April 2007, and then she went missing in June of 2008. So over a year later.
Kind of was out of date after that. I didn't wear it much after that.
Now you've seen, what you're referring to are things that we haven't seen,
No.
right? And you've seen this video numbers of times.
Yes.
And you were wearing a skirt that was out of date. Can you tell us exactly why you believe that that was taken early of 2007, aside from CAYLEE'S size?
I watched that video hundreds of times since I haven't seen CAYLEE in 2008. And there's still pictures of me holding CAYLEE on the same day. And I recall the skirt, it was like a Hawaiian print. And even though I still have the skirt, I hadn't worn it. I don't recall wearing it after that. It was kind of like not popular after that.
Okay. I'd like to now show you photographs that have been marked. Is it a fair and accurate representation? You like, I can proffer at sidebar. I think it's been made relevant. Yeah,
Sidebar.
a picture of.
It's a picture of our backyard swimming pool.
Oh my God, finally. All right, guys, I forgot about this. Let me just remind everybody, including myself, because I'd forgotten, that the state, their entire case in chief never showed a single picture of the fucking swimming pool. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. In fact, the extra effort and the gymnastics that they had to do in order to show pictures of that backyard without showing the swimming pool is insane. Also, when they had Cindy Anthony talk about how tall the swimming pool is and all that, there were no measurements. The way that actually I have a timestamp from, this is from early in the trial, the timestamps I have are like Cindy Anthony, the human measuring tape, because whenever Ms. Drane-Burrdick was asking her, how tall is the swimming pool? How tall is the ladder? How tall are the doorknobs? She was asking Cindy Anthony to describe it as in how tall it is on her. And it was awkward as fuck because so many things were like boob height, like literally boob height. And I was like, this is so stupid. And it wasn't like they did that and then they brought in measurements. There's no measurements. The only thing that the jury has in terms of this pool is their imagination and how tall it is compared to Cindy Anthony's boobs. And they never, and I said early on, I said, holy shit. If they, I forgot about it until now. I said, if they go this entire time, they don't show a picture of that swimming pool, I'm going to lose my mind. Well, they didn't show it. And now I'm remembering and wow. Wow.
And is that a fair and accurate representation of what the pool looks like with the ladder connected?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, Your Honor, we would move defense DO into evidence.
Here we go.
What's
They
this to
never,
say?
I have no words. They never showed this.
They received an evidence that states
Inexcusable.
defense exhibit numbered.
Everything else in that backyard, the jury saw a bazillion pictures of the sheds and the walkway and the porch and the part where they thought the dogs were alerting and all of that, but never the pool.
I would ask to publish it to the jury, Your Honor. I mean,
Yeah, I tried to type something in chat earlier and YouTube censored me as well. Thank God.
Mrs.
Finally.
Anthony, does this ladder
Finally.
disconnect?
This is, dude, finally. We've heard about this ladder. We've never seen the ladder. We've never seen the pool. Finally, thank God.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
And can you use the tool there and show the ladies and gentlemen of the jury
Oh
how you
my
would disconnect
God.
that ladder?
Right at the top, there's a little hinge there and you just lift it up and then the ladder comes off. You just pick it up and it comes off.
A bit of video of what? Wow.
Now I'm going to show you the DS.
The jury's got to be feeling the same way I am, which is like, finally. And I wonder if they also forgot they hadn't seen a picture of it the way I did, because it's been a long trial. Although they have not, anyway, we've taken days off, obviously, because this is not in real time, obviously.
And what is the photograph that I've just shown you, ma'am?
It depicts where we would place the ladder after we removed it.
Okay. And is it a fair and accurate representation of what your pool looks like when the ladder is down or
Yes.
off?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would at this time move into evidence Defense Exhibit DO.
I really hope, and I would fully expect them to bring the defense. I kept another thing I kept thinking that the state would bring that ladder in, right? Because part of the thing is like, how big is the ladder? How heavy is the ladder? It's a whole thing with the ladder is really important here. Okay. Laddergate. Remember when Cindy came home, it was like the gate to the backyard was open and the ladder was up on the pool. Okay. Laddergate. So this ladder is a huge deal. And I kept thinking, oh, when's the ladder going to come in? Well, it hasn't yet. I guarantee the defense is going to bring it in. And the jury needs to see how big it is and how heavy it is.
What says the state?
That's what she said.
You received an evidence as defense exhibit numbered.
May I publish that to the jury?
Yes.
Okay.
May I approach the witness?
Okay.
So basically, what it's going to be, he's going to publish this again, I think. So she's getting
Is that another photo?
She's getting emotional looking at this, right? Because remember, her first instinct was she was sure that Kaylee drowned.
Photograph of your swimming pool.
Yes.
And is this just a slightly different angle of what the ladder looks like when the ladder is off and off the pool?
Yes.
Is it a fair and accurate representation of such?
Yes.
Judge, at this time, I would move into evidence Defense Exhibit DT.
What says the state? It will be received in evidence as defense exhibit numbered.
May I publish to the jury?
You may.
Okay, so okay. And see, I was picturing a metal ladder, but see, looking at it, I think it's plastic, and that matters. So here's the thing about the ladder. So, right, so it did stick out in her mind, and that's the thing, right? So, like, in other words, for Cindy, they were so diligent about making sure that the ladder was taken down and the gate was closed. And you can imagine, right? So, in other words, the day that she came home from work or whatever it was, and she came home and found that gate open and the ladder up, she didn't know at the time that that day would be a significant date, right? However, that was something that stuck out to her because it was so unusual. So then when it was like, oh, Kaylee's missing, the first thing she thought of was she thought back to this day. And the reason it was, and then she was able to pinpoint the date because they had just gone swimming. And all this was testified to earlier in the trial, but she and Kaylee had gone swimming the night before in the evening. And they have pictures of them from earlier in the day and all that. So they have that date. And that's the date of June, what is it, 15th? I forget if it's the 15th or the 16th. Either one. It's either the 15th or the 16th. And they have pictures of them and from earlier in that day. And then they came home and went to the pool. And after they finished with the pool, you know, Cindy said she thinks she put the ladder up, but she's not 100% certain, but she thinks she put the ladder up and the gate would be locked, right? Or whatever. And then it was the next day after that she noticed the gate in the ladder, right? Ladder gate. So she noticed it, but it didn't mean anything to her until a month later when Kaylee's missing. And then the first thing she thought of was that, because that was the last time she'd seen her. And it was the next day that she saw the ladder gate. So yeah.
DU. May I approach the witness with DU?
You may.
Wow. Oh my, wow. This is surprising to me. She's getting really, I mean, she's not been this emotional.
Do you know?
She's not been this emotional since like maybe when she first took the stand the first time and had to like just point at a picture of Kaylee and identify her. Like, this is crazy.
What that photograph is of Mrs. Anthony?
Yes.
Would you like to take a break? Do you need a break?
No, I'm okay.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what that is?
It's a picture of Kaylee walking up the ladder, and I'm behind her holding her.
Oh. It's not in evidence yet because she has to identify it, Miss Drane-Burrdick, you idiot.
Approach.
When was that photograph taken?
I believe it was the summer of 2007.
Okay. And this was approximately 1 year before Kaylee passed away?
Yes.
Okay. And is that a fair and accurate representation of what depicts?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, we would move item DU into evidence.
Noting, let me see. Noting previous objections, objection would be overruled. It would be received in evidence as defense number.
Good. Coming in. It's coming in. I want to see. Wow.
She was climbing the ladder.
Okay, hold
That
on.
was taken.
Sorry. Went too far ahead. Wow.
Since this photograph was taken, can you describe what you're doing here, Mrs. Anthony, or what Kaylee's doing?
She was climbing the ladder,
And how much are you supporting her in her efforts?
my hands are on her, but not firmly. They're right there, just like a light touch.
And after this time period, as the year went on, did she become better at climbing the ladder of the pool?
Oh, absolutely. Even at that point, she could climb into the pool by herself.
Wow.
And for safety reasons, you would always just
And this is a year prior.
be there as a safety net.
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to now approach the witness, Your Honor, with
Interesting.
Defense Exhibit DV.
Wow.
You may.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Is that a fair and accurate representation?
What's that state?
Of course, they're going
Objection will be overruled. Be received in evidence.
They're
as defense
objecting.
exhibit number.
The state, I just want to make sure it's clear. The state is objecting to all of this. Then there's not even a valid objection. They're just objecting.
Can I
Incredible.
publish to the jury, Your Honor?
Incredible.
May.
You can tell it's plastic, the ladder. I mean, that's clear now.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
May I unpublish?
It
Your
doesn't,
Honor?
May.
you know, it doesn't surprise me because she would have learned whenever she went through all her discovery, she would have learned that George threw her under the bus right away because it's in the Orange County Sheriff's Office investigative report that I have that we've covered. Like all the shady shit that George was doing, all the evidence that points to him and all the shit he was doing to throw her under the bus, like that alone would be a good reason to stay far away. But also there's a lot of, you know, just the dysfunction and the gaslighting and stuff. Like it's really, I don't blame her for staying away. I would imagine it's her choice. I could be wrong. There's a lot of dysfunction and a lot of issues, you know, but dude, like they wouldn't even get her out on bond. Like when she had a really low bond because she was in there for like the check stuff initially, they did, you know, well, we talked about that when we watched some of those jail videos, like that. It was odd that like, I can even quote Cindy Anthony. Cindy Anthony says, we couldn't get you out even if we wanted to. And it's like, what? You know, it's just a lot of weirdness. So.
What is that photograph, DW, of Mrs. Anthony?
It's Kaylee that same day when she made it to the top platform of the ladder.
And is that a fair and accurate representation?
W.
Defense exhibit numbered.
Oh.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
May.
Mrs. Anthony, what is the photograph, the pic that you're looking at?
It shows me attempting to go around Kaylee as I
want to
usually
see George's
We
face.
used to have Kaylee sit once she got to the platform with her feet on the first step in the water. And then whoever was with her would get around that way. We would get in the pool before her and then receive her.
And is that a fair and accurate photograph of what it depicts?
Yes.
And the
Yeah.
letters on the back side of it are?
Same. She could have. I mean,
DX.
Totally.
That we at this time would move Defense Exhibit DX into evidence.
What says the state? Objection will be overruled. Will be received in evidence as defense exhibit numbered.
May I publish to the jury?
You may.
Well, here's what I will say. So she was declared indigent. The thing is this, when it comes to civil lawsuits, okay, it costs a fuck ton of money. And the only exception to that is when it comes to things like when you hear people talk about like personal injury. So for example, like wrongful death, car accidents, wrongful termination, slip and fall, that type of stuff, right? When it's like that type of thing where there's been an injury. In those cases, the way it works is, I think with almost without exception, civil attorneys, what they do is they work on a contingency fee, which means that you don't have to pay anything up front. So if you call one of those attorneys, you don't have to pay anything because they fully expect to be able to settle that case. And then what happens is whenever they settle it, then they take a percentage out of that settlement, and that covers their fees. Okay. However, what we're talking about here is defamation. So if you want to sue for defamation, you have to front that money up front, and it would be very, 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 very expensive. So, and that's, you know, in other words, like, why do we never hear about defamations, like lawsuits going all the way to trial? It's so rare. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard is an example, but like, obviously we're talking about celebrities, you know, even Amber Heard couldn't afford counsel, right? I mean, she was provided Elaine Bredehoft by the whatever group that was, I forget at this point, the AAA, some group, right? It was like a charity, whatever the group was. Anyway, so because she couldn't have afforded it. And Elaine sucked. So, and you know, in other words, millions of dollars you're talking, right? And you would the other thing is you'd be going up against Nancy Grace, who would have limitless resources, right? So that would be why she didn't. It would have been pretty much impossible unless Casey Anthony somehow won the lottery or was independently wealthy and could hire the best counsel there is when it comes to a defamation case. There's just no point. Nick Sandman. I don't know who that is. Hi, Leslie and Billy. Happy to see you again. Happy to see you again.
Now, Mrs. Anthony, this is a photograph of Kaylee
That
on
water
the first step
looks nice.
getting into the pool.
Yes, the first step on the inside ladder.
Now, you're actually behind her, correct?
Yes.
Did she often get anxious to get in the water and
Who's
sometimes
this?
want to get ahead of you?
Overrule. You need to repeat your objection. The court reporter did not hear your full objection.
I said objection to relevance. It's also improper opinion testimony.
Just a second. As to the overrule.
You can answer.
Who is Nick Sandman?
For the most part, she, you know, would just sit there and wait for us. Occasionally, especially as she got older, the following year, she was a lot more anxious because she was more familiar with the pool. As she got older, she would like run, but we'd still have her wait. But we had always had a life jacket on her. So.
And during the summer of 2008, how often did Kaylee go swimming?
I can't remember when I put the pool together.
I never
Probably
wore a life
sometime
jacket as a
maybe
kid.
March or April.
You never
So
had
she
to
probably
like
would have
that.
swam.
It was like learn to swim.
Maybe 3 to 4 times a week.
And that was always with the life vest on.
Yes.
And when you were on vacation during June of 2008, was it 1 week or 2 weeks off?
I had 1 week off at that time.
How often during that week did Kaylee go swimming?
Every day.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness with defense DY?
You may.
So I don't know about this, but what I would say is like if somebody you're saying he's a kid, maybe his parents had money. I don't know. I mean, the other thing is like if somebody if you've got the internet involved, right, then there could be like I've seen it before where there's like GoFundMe's and shit like that, right? Where people raise money so that someone could, you know, if they feel like somebody should be able to sue. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways, but the thing is none of those resources would be available to Casey Anthony because she's the most hated woman on the planet. So.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what that photograph is of?
Yes, it's me entering the pool and holding on to Kaylee. And Kaylee was in the pool.
And is that a fair and accurate depiction, representation of what it depicts?
Yes.
Can you read the letters on the back?
DY.
Your Honor, at this time, we would move the defense exhibit DY into evidence.
What says the state? Objection to be overruled. You received evidence as defense exhibit numbered.
May we publish to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Your Honor?
You may.
Mrs. Anthony, is this at a time period where you're trying to get in the pool?
Cute.
Yes.
And does Kaylee appear to be anxious to swim off, but you've got to hold her?
Yes, once I made it to the other side and got my feet in the water, it was usually okay for her to start going in. I had to be at least on the other side of the ladder. But yes, she was anxious to get in.
And did you take numerous precautions around the pool with Kaylee?
Yes.
Can you share with the ladies and gentlemen?
It's clear they did. It's wild, right? Because that's just like a small pool. It's not that deep. She's got a life jacket on. She's got her grandmother there. Like when I was that age, dude, you guys, I was straight up swimming in the ocean, fighting the big waves without a life jacket. So it's pretty crazy. Like, I guess I didn't realize that's not what everybody does. Like, I thought it was normal. Like, my brother and I were swimming early without, and we never had life jackets and shit. I mean, my parents would be there, but they weren't, not even always. There were times where they would go up on the shore and my brother and I'd be like out there. And anyway, it's just like, it's crazy. Like that's a lot of precautions.
Sure, some of those precautions that you would
take. We made sure that once Kaylee started walking, we used to have a pool deck. A pool box, a deck box right next to the pool. And it was just a little bit further from where the ladder was in that picture where it showed that the ladder was down. And once Kaylee was a toddler, we moved that and put it up against the house where you can see in the background where it looks like a ficus tree. And then there's two hangings on my house right back there. It was below that where the tree is, right below that area. We put the deck box so that she could not climb up on the deck box to get into the ladder. And we took extra precaution every day to keep the ladder off the pool.
Here you go.
Unless we were going swimming, and then we put it on and then we take it off. We also made sure that we taught Kaylee that she had to be with us, one of us, to go into the pool, and that she had to wait for us. We took precautions on teaching her how to go up the ladder and down the ladder, backwards and forwards, just like you would stairs in a house, so that we knew she can come up and down, but we told her that, we had to be with her, and why. We showed her why she could get hurt. And we kept the life vest inside the back patio. Kaylee's wearing a swimsuit at that time frame with one of those.
Let me stop you there. Did this vest fit?
Yeah.
her?
So by the way, same here, Heather. We had a swimming pool, and I was always disappointed. I was like, God, the deep end's not like, it's really not that deep. So we had a membership to like the swimming pool in the neighborhood, and we also had there's a lake thing called Piney Lake, which is like a lake that you can go swimming in, but it's like really fucking deep. And there's a diving board, and it's all the way out in the middle of the lake. And so that was really fun because you had to swim all the way out there to get to the diving board. It's quite a ways out. And then the diving board was up a lot higher than they would be at the pool. And then because the lake's a lot deeper, but I was doing flips and shit. That's a quote from I'm on a boat, but anyway, jumping off the diving board and doing the flips and was so much fun. And yeah, I've always wondered what it'd be like to do one of those platform dives like they do in the Olympics. Have any of y'all ever done that? That's insane, right? The really, really, really crazy high up ones. I kind of want to do it, but I think you have to be an Olympian to have access to shit. Not an Olympian, so.
A year later, or did you buy another one?
No, that one was actually the second one we had gotten for her. She grew out of the first one, and then she grew out of that one, and we actually bought a removable life vest that would go over her suits.
Now, these photographs, they were taken after the video that we showed the ladies and gentlemen of the jury first, right?
Yes, a few months later.
And she even outgrew this vest as well?
Yes, by the following summer, she had outgrown that vest.
Okay. Now, I'd like to show you Defense Exhibit EB. May I approach the witness, Ron?
You might.
Now, does Kaylee appear to be much bigger in that photograph?
Yes.
And is that
Speaking of heights, I fell down a waterfall one time. That's a good story.
a fair and accurate representation of what that photograph depicts?
Yes.
Roger that.
Can you tell us the numbers on the back?
That's interesting.
EB.
Your Honor, at this time, we would move Defense Exhibit EB into evidence.
Bird.
Oh, wow. Okay. So my guess, I'm sure they're going to tell us, is that this is, remember we said there's like a year difference. Doesn't she look bigger here? So we'll learn when this photo is from, but I can tell you right now the significance of it. This is a sliding door that they would keep unlocked. And part of the questions was like, would she have been able to open that door? Like, okay, let me just back up. The state during their case in chief made it sound like there's no way Kaylee could have even gotten out of the house. Okay. Oh, what do we have here? A picture of her literally getting out of the house. And that's the patio, and that's where the pool is. Literally.
Prior to the last time you saw Kaylee, was she about this height, or was she bigger, or can you describe her size?
She may have been an inch taller. It's hard to. Just trying to figure out where that door would hit me.
Right. That's how it was
She might have
measured.
been a little bit taller, but she was also wearing tennis shoes in that picture, so it might be the accurate height if she was in her bare feet versus those tennis shoes.
And did Kaylee ever leave the house barefoot?
You mean to go out in the backyard?
No, I mean leave the house to go to the store or things like that.
No, I'm 99% sure that we put shoes on her every time we went out. She liked to wear shoes, actually.
And was it your custom to always put shoes on her?
Yes.
Was it Casey's custom to always put shoes on her as well?
Sustain is the last question.
And the sliding glass door that you have here, I know some of them have like bars that preclude them being opened. You don't have one of those on this door, do you?
No, we didn't put one in, no.
Did you go water skiing? Was that water skiing, Heather, there? I guess so. Or is that like ice skiing? I don't know. Does that lake freeze over? I don't have no idea.
Now, could Kaylee open doors fairly easily at her age?
Obviously. Just saw a picture.
Yes, you could.
Can I unpublish?
But yeah, I say obviously. The reason I'm saying that is because the state made it sound like she couldn't. So yeah.
Now, on June 16th, 2008, did you come home and notice that the pool ladder was up as depicted in the
Here
photograph?
we go.
You mean on the
The ladder.
Yes, it was.
Here
on
you
the-
go.
It was
Here you go,
attached to the
guys.
pool.
There it is.
And
This is a big deal. I'm gonna back it. This is LADDERGATE. And the thing is that this has come up before, but it came up with the state. So you know what? I have a feeling we're gonna learn a whole hell of a lot more than we learned before. This is gonna be probably the real deal of what happened with LADDERGATE. So
now, on June 16th, 2008, did you come home and notice that the pool ladder was up
June
as depicted in the
16th.
photographs?
2008.
You mean on the?
The ladder.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
it was attached to the pool.
Okay.
And was that a highly unusual event for you to see that?
Yes, so much that I called George at work to see if he had left the pool ladder up, because I also noticed that the side gate was open. at the same
LADDERGATE.
time.
LADDERGATE.
And the next day, did you go to work and tell anyone?
Yes, I think so.
Who did you tell when you went to work about the pool ladder being on your pool?
It was probably either Debbie or Charles or both.
When you say Debbie, are you referring to Debbie Bennett?
Yes.
Now, in case
Or
anyone's wondering, and she might talk about it, but in case anyone's like, why would she do that? This made such an impression on her. Her first thought at this time, remember, this is before anyone knew Kaylee was missing or whatever. Her thought at this time was like there was like maybe a random person using their pool during the day, right? So this is why it was really, again, so noteworthy, and she told people about it. She thought maybe someone was just like using their pool, like whoever, a random person.
Debbie Palisano.
Debbie Bennett.
Okay. Would you have told Debbie Palisano?
If she was back in our work area, she might have heard me say that. A lot of times when I come in the morning, Deborah Palisano would be in the kitchen, which was right next to our work area, making a cup of coffee. So we had cubicles, so you could hear just about everything that went on in the back if you were back there.
And why did you tell your coworkers about the pool ladder being up?
Sustain.
Now, during this time period that you were, June 16, 2008, were you having any marital problems?
Oh.
Sustain.
May we approach?
You may.
Well, we know they were.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're going to take our standard 15-minute to 25 minutes
I have a
25
feeling
minutes.
they're going to put some shit on the record here.
I've reviewed the Mateo case.
Okay.
Which was found at 932-7-2nd 376.
Outside the presence of the jury.
2006 decision of the Second District Court of Appeals.
Okay.
Dealing with the issue of theory of defense. Exactly, Mr. Baez, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but your theory of defense was that this was an accidental drowning, that your client's behavior subsequent to the drowning was caused by long-term sexual abuse of Miss Anthony at the
There we
hands
go.
of her father
Want to get
and
this in.
brother. Correct? Well, among other things, like what? Because that's the only thing you said in your opening statement. I've reviewed the case. I've reviewed the cases that are cited within this case, and all of these things. The Mateo case had to do with issues of police retaliating. In Mateo, the state had agreed to stipulate to a tape where the witness who was going to predicate the tape became ill, was going to have surgery and couldn't show up. And then the state sort of semi-reneged on their promise and then interposed an objection of relevancy. As long as the evidence is relevant to that particular issue and also admissible. So what is your theory of defense? Because you cannot use the broad blanket of theory of the defense to just get any and everything in. So if I'm mistaken, and the only thing I can base it upon
There's Lee.
is what you said in your opening statements. That's why I admitted the photographs of the victim, Kelly Anthony, climbing up the steps into the swimming pool. Now, if your theory of defense is ever changing, maybe you just simply need to tell me what your theory of defense is. At least somebody try to explain it to me. Yes.
Yeah, he's testifying, by the way, after Cindy.
Okay, state recognized presence of jury. The defense.
Yes, sir, we do.
You may continue.
All right.
Your Honor. Mrs. Anthony, on July 16th, 2008, did you advise the lead detective, Yuri Melich, about the ladder being left up?
LADDERGATE. LADDERGATE.
Hearsay, her statement.
Overruled. To advise my answer should be either yes or no answer.
Yes.
And was that within
We know.
24 hours of
We
calling the
know.
police?
Yuri Malik already testified to this, literally. So we know.
Yes.
And how many times?
Sorry, I'm going to back this up because so you guys can hear because I was talking over it. And the timeline matters here. So
Anthony, on July 16th, 2008, did you advise the lead detective, Yuri Melich, about the ladder being left up on the pool?
Objection, hearsay.
Hearsay, her statement.
Overruled. To advise my answer should be either yes or no answer.
Yes.
And was that within 24 hours of calling the police?
Yes.
And how many times have you advised law enforcement that you thought Kaylee had drowned in the pool?
Objection, Your Honor.
This rebuts recent fabrication, Judge.
There's no.
Sustained.
Was this a topic that you constantly brought up with law enforcement?
Same objection.
Approach the sidebar.
wow, that's crazy because we've already heard about this. Yeah, Jose
Objection
Baez.
sustained. Next question.
Jose
Yeah,
Baez is
that's the
amazing. Oh, cross.
Cross-examination.
Dude, and remember, we saw so she's back to back. Like, in other words, she testified the day prior, day 26 of trial, she testified and was completely just like, treated just, y'all that saw this, it was like Miss Drane-Burrdick was like straight up abusing her, like on the stand. It was wild. Like put her on blast about changing her medications and all kinds of stuff. It was insanity. Like, I couldn't believe it. So anyway, so now she's going for cross again. So.
Thank you.
I'm making all kinds of faces because I hate her so much, Miss Drane-Burrdick. I mean,
Good morning, Ms. Anthony.
Good morning.
Even after your granddaughter Kaylee was missing from your home beginning in June of 2008, you maintained her bedroom, correct?
Yes, I did.
You kept all of her clothes in the drawers?
Yes, I did.
You even kept any presents that she had received because while she was missing and before her remains were found, she had a birthday.
Yes.
In the past, as Kaylee began to outgrow certain clothing, you would have garage sales, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you would get rid of clothes that were too small,
Some of them, yes.
right? Or you would store them in plastic containers so that they could be maintained, perhaps to sell later or for some other purpose.
Correct.
On June 15th of 2008, was Kaylee potty trained?
She was pretty much potty trained, but we would still carry diapers if we went out. She was, a lot of times she would just wear little panties.
Underwear?
Yes, underwear. And if we were at home, then that's what she would wear. If we went out, we would have pull-ups on her just in case we were driving or someplace where we couldn't get to a restroom quickly. Little kids usually wait till last minute to tell you that they have to go. So
When did Kaylee make the switch from full-fledged diapers to pull-ups?
Oh my God. Why is like she doesn't have to talk like that? You know what I mean? She can ask these questions without being like angry. I don't know. Maybe he's decided to be crabby like he was last night or whatever it was.
I don't know, probably sometime early of 2008.
In the photograph, which is introduced as states 314 in evidence, may I approach the witness? Is Kaylee wearing a diaper, a pull-up, or underwear?
It's hard to tell.
I don't think the photograph,
Calls for speculation. Based on that photograph, it calls for speculation.
Overall,
It looks like either a pull-up or a diaper. It doesn't look like a panties. It looks, it's up, you know, it looks like it could be a diaper. Right. Or pull-up.
There's something coming out of the back of the shorts.
Yes.
Is why you're making
Yes.
that assertion. And it is your testimony that she was wearing those pair of shorts in April of 2007, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That's
You
what
recognize
Heather
in prior
said.
testimony in this
I
court
blame Heather. That's what Heather said.
that you've said that those pictures were taken shortly before her second birthday, which would be August of 2007, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
proper impeachment.
overall.
Yes, I stated that it was, you know, several months before her second birthday.
Poor Twiz.
So in 2007, based on the testimony that you've already given here this morning, Kaylee was still wearing diapers.
Yes.
If I may approach the witness with a series of photographs marked RF, RE, RG, RH, RI, RL, RK, and RJ for identification.
You make
Twiz is going to sue Heather for defamation.
We talked about this before.
Speaking of defamation.
It would, George, myself, or Casey. It was mostly myself or George.
Who bought Kaylee's clothing?
Casey and I, and relatives and friends. I mean, typical. She got a lot of gifts, but primarily Casey and I did.
Did you do a lot of shopping at Target?
Yes, ma'am.
You recognize that the Circo brand on a lot of Kaylee's clothing is a Target store brand, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Can you take a look at those photographs that have been handed to you and tell me if you recognize any of the clothing in the photographs? If there is something that you don't recognize, segregate that out.
Object at this time, these photographs do not show clothing, they show tags.
Tags on clothing.
objection overruled. She's just looking at him for now. She's not testifying to him.
Do you recognize everything in all of those photographs?
The only one I'm not certain of is
That one aside, then,
a pair of shorts, one pair of shorts.
for those clothing until they were seized by law enforcement.
I had 2 T's. Those depicted 2 T's, but there was 3 T's as well.
Now, like many children, Kaylee was a little bit stocky when she was a baby.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
And as she
Really?
got older and more mobile, she began to thin out.
Yes.
That process takes place, or took place with Kaylee, sometime between the age of 1 and 2, and as she becomes even more mobile as she approaches the age of 3. Correct?
Yes.
It would be fair to say then that there are clothing items that Kaylee had that could last for as much as a year, even if she's growing taller. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
These shorts that we looked at states 314 in evidence, and the ones displayed in the video that we saw during your direct testimony, those were shorts that were kept in your house, weren't they?
Yes, ma'am.
When was the last time you saw them?
Sometime in 2008, towards the end of 2008. Those shorts?
Yes. When was the last time you saw them before June 16th of 2008?
Oh, you mean, what, excuse me, I'm not sure. Are you talking about the pictures you just showed me? Okay, I thought you were talking about the pictures we just looked at. I'm sorry.
You don't need to apologize. It's her fault for being dumb.
Okay.
Were those shorts kept at your house?
Those particular shorts, I hadn't recalled Kaylee wearing those shorts for some time.
The question was, were those shorts kept at your house?
You mean every day? There was several pieces of clothing throughout Kaylee's life that wasn't at my house every day.
Would that be because they were packed in some sort of diaper bag or backpack?
Calls for speculation. The witness testified she hasn't seen the shorts in over 6 months. So the question is posed to ask her to speculate.
Overruled.
Can you repeat
We were talking about the fact that there were clothing items that you would have recognized as having been in the home because you washed the clothes or you bought the clothes that were sometimes transported in a diaper bag or in a backpack.
That's correct.
Correct. And then you had seen or had knowledge of that diaper bag or backpack being placed in your daughter's car, correct?
Yes, or my car.
Or your car or your husband's car,
Yes.
whenever you all might have taken Kaylee somewhere.
That's correct.
You had a change of clothes
Yes.
with you. So do you have any recollection as to the last time you may have seen those shorts that are in the photograph that I handed to you or that had appeared in the video that you indicate was taken in early to mid 2007?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more time? I just want to make sure I get on the same page.
When was the last time you saw those shorts?
Those weren't shorts that I dressed Kaylee in quite a bit. I mean, there was quite a few things that I didn't dress Kaylee in, and that outfit was not one of my favorite outfits. And she had more clothes hanging in her closet than she did there. So unless Casey had her in them, and she may have worn them after, but I didn't see her that much after 2007. I do not recall seeing Kaylee in those shorts after 2007.
Okay. The photograph and the video taken of her in the shorts was taken at your house, correct?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
So you would agree that it stands to reason that at some time those shorts were kept at your house?
Yes, like I said, they were at our house, but no, I can't say they were there every single day. Yes.
Okay. The picture of the ladder that you testified about, how heavy is that ladder?
I don't know the actual weight. I know I can't lift it with one hand. I have to use two hands to lift it.
You would agree that it is nothing that Kaylee would ever be capable of moving or manipulating on her own, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so then in other words, the thing would be with the ladder if the ladder was up and then Kaylee, I think it's clear she easily could have gotten into that pool if the ladder was up. I think that's really the thing.
Could not.
How heavy is that sliding glass door that you showed us in the picture with Kaylee touching the handle?
You have to put a pretty good force to it to open it up.
Now, even though Kaylee was 2, almost 3, the last time you saw her, she was a very compliant child.
Yes,
she would follow your instruction, right?
Yes.
If you gave her direction, she would listen to you.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was your testimony that you were very careful to give Kaylee instruction about whether that's going outside or putting on any sort of life vest or climbing up the ladder of the pool.
That's correct.
How deep is the pool?
I think we went through this before.
No, we didn't.
It could go up to 4 feet, but we don't fill it up naturally all the way to the top. So it's just a little bit under 4 feet.
Right?
Standing outside of the pool, can an adult reach in to retrieve objects in the pool if they are not at the edge?
You have to be at the edge of the pool to reach in and get an object.
Okay. If an object is not at the edge, but you are, can you reach in and
the only thing though is I don't know that George used the pool. I mean, it's possible that he did, but we haven't heard anything about like all of the stories so far about people using the pool are Kaylee, Casey, and the mom. Doesn't mean George didn't use the pool, but we haven't ever heard any stories about him swimming in the pool. So that's the only thing I would say. Yeah. but
Not
getting wet.
possible.
No, not unless it's within a few inches from the edge of the pool.
When was the photograph taken of Kaylee at the sliding glass door?
I can't tell you a month, but I would say it was probably the spring of 2008.
I also imagine that you would never permit Kaylee to be left home alone at your house.
Absolutely not.
One of the things that you testified on direct examination had to do with the incident that you discussed relative to the ladder being back on the pool and the side gate being open.
LADDERGATE.
Remember
Yes, I
talking about
remember
that?
Yes.
It was your testimony on a prior occasion. Would you agree that there is absolutely no way that Kaylee would have been able to open that gate?
Oh, there's no way she could open the gate to the, from the backyard to the front yard.
It would have had to have been open.
And as far as the date of that ladder incident, you have in the past testified that it was in the week before the gas can incident, haven't you?
Gas can incident.
Yes.
Today, you say that that was the night of the 16th, but do you acknowledge that you've said it was the 17th or even subsequent dates during that week?
Yes. I mean, when I was looking back, early on, I was asked about it, and I knew it was either the 16th or 17th. I knew it was in those first 2 days after I didn't see her anymore.
You said that you called George when you made that discovery.
Yes, I did.
Did you call George from the house phone?
I'm not sure if I used the house phone or my cell phone, but I did call George.
Okay. Well, those would have been your only two options, right? The house phone or the cell phone.
Correct.
And if George wasn't at the house, as a call to him would suggest, you would have only the option to use his cell phone.
Correct.
To reach him.
Correct.
It's not like there was a work phone where you could get him at his security job. You had to call him on his cell phone.
He had two phones. He had a work phone and his cell phone. And sometimes I did call him on his work phone if he didn't pick up on his cell phone, or he would call me, from either or, depending on, which phone he was using.
Do you recall if you left a message for him that day, or did he pick up when you called?
I know I spoke to him. I can't remember if I spoke to him after I had left a message or not, but I know that we
Here
had
he is.
communicated.
That's a good point. So I guess what I meant though with the pool is like whenever they have talked about the routine with the pool and all that, right? Like in general, like even just what we've seen today, right? With the pictures and everything, like George is never included in the conversation about the pool routine, if that makes sense. That's kind of what I meant. Like even just just Cindy's like, this is the routine, but she's never, George is just never described as being in the pool picture, if you will. But that, yeah, of course, yeah, you would not talk about it if you were the last person, for sure. And there's Lee right beside George again.
You acknowledge as well that as it relates to dates in June of 2008, that you've already made other errors. Specifically, when you filled out your initial sworn statement, you indicated the last time you had seen Kaylee was.
Just a second. Response outside the scope.
Your Honor, we're talking about, he in direct examination asked questions about specific dates. I'm attempting to get the witness to acknowledge that she has made errors on dates in June of 2008 in the past.
Overruled.
Ms. Anthony, you recall that your first sworn statement to law enforcement as to the date that you last saw Kaylee had an error, correct?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I'm aware of that.
You had indicated that the last time you saw her was actually a week prior to Father's Day.
Always.
And it was the video of her with your dad.
Yes.
That refreshed your recollection as to the accuracy of that date.
That's correct.
You said that you went to work and told some of the people at your office about the incident with
LADDERGATE.
believing somebody was swimming in your pool.
Yes.
You also told them about the gas can incident that was reported to the police on June 24th, correct?
So
I'm not going to ask her questions about that. I'm asking about what she is reporting to her coworkers, since there was a question about, did you tell them at work about certain things that happened in June of 2008?
Overruled.
Yes.
Are you sure you were at work on June 16th of 2008?
Yes, I know I was at work on June 16th, 2008.
Okay. Your time card reflects that you were at work on June 16th of 2008, does it not?
I would imagine it would, but I haven't reviewed that time card in 3 years.
May I approach the witness with 318 in evidence?
Miss Drane-Burrdick. Wow. Okay. Miss Drane-Burrdick is now suggesting, because we heard about these time cards a lot in the last episode. Let me just make sure this is clear to everybody. That the way it worked with her time cards, right, was that because she was salaried, but they had to because she was salaried, but they couldn't work past a certain number of hours a week. Like the way that they did the time cards was like, she just needed to make sure that it was always even like hours. Sorry, hold on. I got that backwards. In other words, she couldn't show that she worked more than 8 hours in a day, but sometimes she would need to work more than 8 hours in a day. So basically the way she explained it was because that it was like she was salaried anyway. The way that they had her do it was like, if she worked a lot more hours one day, then the next day she might, you know, like fill it out differently, basically. So for example, what this is making me think of is the fact that because she has a time card that says she was working, it might be that she was actually not working because she worked extra hours the previous day, if that makes sense. But the significance of this to me is, here's the prosecution. And if they're trying to imply that Cindy said she was at work and she wasn't at work and she was actually home, are they trying to implicate that she could be a potential suspect? Because I am really confused. That's the case.
Have you located the entry for the week ending? Let me think. 20.
Yes.
Shows you were at work on June 16th of 2008?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's accurate?
Yes.
Are you sure you were at work on June 17th of 2008?
Yes, without looking at this, I'm sure I worked June 17th.
Every day that week?
Yes,
I had through the 24th of June when the gas can incident was reported.
Yes, I had just come off vacation. So yes, I was back to work.
Okay. That time card accurately reflects that June vacation, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Oh my God.
Your daughter Casey was home between August 22nd of 2008 and October 14th of 2008, correct?
Sustained.
Did you have contact with your daughter aside from what was on the videos that were done at the jail?
Scope, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You showed us photographs of Kaylee getting in and out of the pool. Did your daughter tell you that there was an accident involving the pool?
Right? I know.
Objection, Judge, outside the scope.
No, ma'am.
In fact, she continued to assert to you after July 15th of 2008 that the child was kidnapped by a babysitter, correct?
That's correct.
Those are all the questions I have on the issue.
This to me interesting, because I wonder the state could easily step in it by opening the door. Like, I'm wondering if that's what's, okay. What am I thinking? That question right there suggesting that, oh well, she never suggested it was the pool, and instead she lied about the babysitter. Again, Zanny the nanny had been existing, quote unquote, for years prior. But anyway, I wonder, does that open the door though for them to get into why she was making up these imaginary people? I would think it would. Did they just open the door? Because we know that they want to get into the sexual abuse stuff. And we don't know what the ruling was on that because that was done off the record. So
redirect.
Interesting. Did they open the door? Door. I love it when doors are open. Oh, is he mad? Oh, he has every right to be.
Yeah, approach the witness, Your Honor.
Right.
The same thing I'm showing you, the photographs that Mr. Drane-Burrdick just showed you states RE, states RF, RG, RH, RI, RL, RK, and RJ.
Yeah, and why
Well,
not?
first off,
What?
those are just photographs of tags, are they not? You can see some of the garment, can you?
Overruled.
That's true on all but one.
Okay. And are all of those garments pretty much knit type garments? Cotton material?
All but one.
Okay. Can you show me one that is not? Now that one that you showed me, that is of jean material, correct?
Like a cotton. There's pictures of jeans in the background, but that one's like a cotton.
And the shorts that Kaylee was found in are jean type material, correct?
They're a cotton type material.
The knit material is material that is much stretchier. Would you agree to that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So are Kaylee's clothing, does Kaylee grow out of clothing that are of that rougher, thicker material?
Part of the reason so here's the thing, so why not report it, right? Yeah. So if there was some funny business going on, right? So, again, there's thoughts of like the SA or whatever, but also we know that George has a criminal past. George has done hard time. Okay. He has a record. And I thought to myself when I learned that if he had a prior record, he might be even more apt, even if it was a mistake or whatever, right? An accident, might be more apt to worry that it could look suspicious. I don't know. We don't know yet. We're going to learn a lot more as they get it, depending on how much they're allowed to bring in, but we're going to learn a lot more. But yeah, of course, why not report it if it, why not report it no matter what happened, right? The fact that if it didn't happen, it means either that, Kaylee didn't drown, right? Or something else happened. And then, I don't know. They don't know what happened to her. So could she have died some other way and then been put in the pool? We don't know. We just don't know. Or was there something funny going on and that's why? We don't know.
Material a lot faster than they would have the knit material?
Yes.
And you also have kept lots of clothing from Kaylee that she has outgrown, have you not?
Oh, yes.
You haven't sold it all at yard sales?
No, most of her stuff we have kept.
Okay. And a lot of this would be kept in Casey's room?
We had 3 locations, depending on whether or not Lee was home. If he was living at the house, then we wouldn't use that closet. But when he moved out, we used that closet or Casey's closet because she really didn't have a closet. She had an armoire. And then the drawers in her armoire, and then the changing table was full of drawers.
So Kaylee's clothing that she had outgrown would have been kept throughout the house?
Correct.
And the jeans, the shorts that Kaylee was found in, you testified with Mr. Drane-Burrdick that you hadn't seen it for several months, right?
I hadn't seen her wearing those for several months.
And the only occasion that you would see them is if you had the occasion to wash them, right?
Correct.
You don't, back in those days, you weren't deciding to, I haven't finished. Where on those days, where in early 2008, was it a frequent custom of yours to just go looking for clothing that didn't fit Kaylee anymore?
There were specific times that I would go through Kaylee's drawers, like Christmas time. If she received a lot of gifts, we would tend to take out the ones that were smaller and then put the larger size in. Birthdays the same way, any holidays.
And would you do these, would you best characterize that as spring cleaning type deal?
Or if I was putting something on her and noticed it was too tight, I'd note that. Sometimes I would set it on her dresser or may even leave it in the drawer with the intention to go back and go through all the clothes to kind of see if I had time to go through and see what fit and what didn't fit.
And unless you were washing these clothing, you wouldn't see them on a regular basis.
That's correct.
And that's consistent with what you just said, what you testified to, that you hadn't seen those clothing in a long time, those shorts in a long time.
I would say so.
And I know that this is going to sound odd, but Kaylee was a child, right? Almost 3 years old.
You mean instead of it being a baby?
Yes. She was a regular toddler.
Yes.
Okay. And as to her being obedient or not, did you treat her and discipline her like as if she were in the military or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Were you overly strict with her?
No.
So she ran and played like any other toddler?
Depending on her surroundings.
And she was just your average, if not above average toddler?
I felt she was above average.
Thank you. No further questions.
Any witness been excused? Any more questions from the state?
Just very briefly.
Oh,
Ms.
God.
Anthony, the fabric in the shorts that you were talking about, they're pink cotton?
Yes, ma'am.
Shorts. Was that the same fabric as the shorts in the photograph? I believe it's 314. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but the one that we saw that you said was taken in 2007.
Yes, it's similar.
The sturdy cotton that has less give than a knit fabric.
Yes.
That's all I want to say.
Twiz clarifying.
May Mrs. Anthony stand down.
Take it up with Heather. Okay, so now we're on to Lee Anthony. So some of you guys may not have seen him before. He has testified several times in this trial already, but this is his first time testifying for the defense. So let's go.
Lee Anthony, Leeanth online.
Good morning, Mr. Anthony.
Good morning.
Mr. Anthony, did you at one time own the white Pontiac Sunfire?
Oh, they're gonna ask about Steve.
Yes.
From what year to what year did you own that car?
Approximately 2000 until
The big question is, because we don't know what happened at the sidebars, is he going to be allowed to get into the essay? Is he going to ask him about that? Like, we don't know. We'll see.
early 2005.
I'd like to show you some photographs. Your Honor, I'd like to publish to both the witness and the jury states Exhibit
There's so
47,
funny. Y'all are so
79, and 80.
Elmo.
Can you see that, sir?
No, I can't see.
Oh.
You want me to do it or you want me to?
Thank you, Judge.
Yes, I can see it.
Is that the white Pontiac Sunfire that you once owned?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. I'd like to now show you photographs. States 79. You see that, sir?
Yes, I do.
Does that appear to be the trunk of your of the car you once owned?
Yes, it is. I recognize the amplifier in the back.
Okay. Give me a second. I'm trying to clear up the glare if I can.
Mirror that from front to back. Da-da-da-da-da. We don't need that. What's that song? Da-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da-da. Whatever it is. Anyway. Can't know all the songs.
Rest you put them on for you. Just let me know which ones you want. Take them fine.
Oh, wow. That did make a difference. Well
Can you
done.
see that now?
Much better.
Okay. Now, when you owned this car, was there a stain in the trunk of the car?
There were a few, yes.
Okay.
Do you not
Can you
have any
show
mountains?
with the illustrator, just kind of circle on the screen where these stains were?
Okay. I specifically remember there being 3. They were all outside of the.
Go ahead and mark on the.
Okay, they're all outside of the tire cover. There was one there approximately. There was one higher up below the amplifier,
Mhm.
and then there was a smaller one just kind of on the side over here.
And were they there when you purchased the car?
From everything I remember, yes. I remember seeing those numerous times throughout the time I owned it.
Did you have an occasion to stain the trunk of your car on any occasions? How long did you own it again? I'm sorry.
Almost 5 full years.
So in those 5 years, did you ever create any stains in the trunk?
I'm sure I may have, but I don't recall specifically making any of those 3, but I do remember seeing them. You know, it was just normal to see those.
Okay, I'd like to show you another photograph.
By the way, for anyone who doesn't know this about Twiz, Twiz hates coffee. So, just saying.
Is this a little better view of the trunk?
Yes.
Just kidding.
Can you show us where?
You know what I love about this picture? I love that there's one of those freaking dryer sheets in that trunk, because we know that Cindy Anthony put all those dryer sheets. Like, there's the dryer sheet and all, right? There it is. But also, like, look at how clean that shit is, right? It's incredibly clean, especially considering there was a bag of fucking garbage in there for like a month sitting in the hot Florida summer sun. Like, incredible how clean it is. And that's why it's wild, right? That the state's trying to say there was also a decomposing body in there. I mean, all right.
Can you show us where on this photograph the stains were?
Sure. And then the other was off the picture.
Okay. And how long would you say those stains were there?
If not I don't know for sure. More often than not, longer than for the majority of the
I
time that I
know.
owned them, if not the entire
I
time
know.
I
There's
owned
no
them.
way.
Now, they don't come up too well on these photographs.
No, they
do
don't. No, they don't.
But they were there when you would be able to see it. Is that correct? When you opened
Absolutely.
up the trunk?
Yes.
One of the most important things that we saw that I think in terms of figuring out the circumstances about the body was the bug evidence. You know, the bug evidence. The bug evidence in this case proved without any question that there was never a dead body in that trunk, even before you got to all the rest of it, right? You know, Dr. Arpad Voss was just a disaster, and that was all really dumb. But like, the bug evidence proved it point blank. But I mean, you can see for your eyes, right? We all have eyeballs, right? Like, the bug evidence was really, really, really interesting in this case.
May I unpublished, Judge?
You make
the jury's finished. Mr. Anthony, can you tell us when's the first time that you noticed that your sister was pregnant?
Ah.
You may.
Why do you need to approach Mr. Ashton? Oh, no, God.
Judge overruled.
can you first tell us about the very first time you suspected that your sister was pregnant or noticed?
Yeah, it's hard to give an exact time, but it would have been early to mid 2008.
Oh, I know why he objected now, because I think Mr. Ashton is wondering if this is going to get into the territory of, are you the, who's the, all the things, right? Who's the dad? Are you the dad? Da, 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 right? Okay.
Now, this was during the time that you were living in the home.
Yes, I had not moved out at that point.
Okay. And
Interesting.
describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how that occurred.
How I saw Casey?
Yes, how you first saw Casey showing.
Okay. It would have been later at night. Our bedrooms are right next to the bathroom, so I was waiting for her to get out of the bathroom, and when I went in when she was coming out, I could see her, midsection, and it was showing. So at that time, it struck me as odd because I guess I just hadn't noticed it prior to that.
And what did you do with this information once you saw this? What did you?
I believe I made some kind of comment towards Casey that said, like, excuse me, what the hell is that? And she just kind of waved me off. And then the next time I would have seen my mom, probably in the next couple of days, I recall asking her, is Casey pregnant? Looks that way to me.
Not responsive narrative.
Sustained.
What happened next?
Objection. Relevance calls for hearsay.
Overruled at this point, but the question should not elicit a hearsay answer.
We're not offering this for the truth of the matter, Your Honor.
I don't know what's coming out, so approach the sidebar.
Oh dear.
You may continue.
Now, Mr. Anthony, you were saying that the next day you had advised your mother that you thought Casey was pregnant, correct?
I confronted her with that within a day or two. Yes.
Okay. And then when's the next time you saw Casey being obviously showing?
This would definitely have been in the middle of 2008. She came and picked me up at the airport.
Now, Kaylee was born in 2006, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have the years wrong. No, she was born in 2005.
Oh, excuse me. So you're referring to 2005?
Yes, I apologize.
Okay. Did there come an occasion where you saw or you noticed this again to any greater? Did you see her showing more?
Absolutely. It was brutally honest at that point that she was pregnant.
Okay. And was it known in
So
your family?
remember, you guys who missed it, the very first thing that happened in this entire trial after opening statements was George Anthony took the stand. He was the state's first witness. Don't ask me why. And one of the very first things they talked about was Casey being pregnant. And it was the oddest, some of the most odd testimony I've ever seen, where he talks about how literally no one knew she was pregnant and he denies it over and over again. And then how he talks about how he was there for when the baby was delivered, and it's really creepy and weird and awkward. And it's bizarre. It's like your first introduction to George and you're like, where am I, on another planet? So I appreciate that Lee Anthony's like, yeah, obviously she was pregnant.
Or was it discussed in your family at all that she was pregnant?
Good night. Thanks for being here. See you next time.
In your family.
Your mother,
Sustained.
your mother and your father.
Compound question.
Sustained.
Was it discussed with your mother that at this point that Casey was pregnant?
Myself and my mother?
Yes.
Prior to asking her a few months before? No.
Okay. And then after you talked to your mother about it and you confronted her, was there about a month later that you saw Casey again? Did she pick you up at the airport or anything like that?
Assumes a fact, not an evidence that he confronted anybody.
Sustained.
Whoa. Okay. Hold on. I have to back this up. So Twiz just got called handsome. So that's nice. What's going on? Mr. Ashton's having a hissy fit again.
Sustained.
Was it discussed with your mother that at this point that Casey was pregnant?
Myself and my mother?
Yes.
Prior to asking her a few months before? No.
Okay. And then after you talked to your mother about it and you confronted her, was there about a month later that you saw Casey again? Did she pick you up at the airport or anything like that?
Assumes a fact, not an evidence that he confronted anybody.
Sustained. Rephrase your question.
Was there an occasion where your sister picked you up at the airport?
Yes, there was.
Okay. And how was she showing when she picked you up at the airport?
Far enough out to where I know she just wasn't putting on weight.
I'm sorry?
Far enough out to where I know she wasn't just putting on weight.
Okay. Are you saying that she obviously looked more pregnant?
Yes.
Okay. And was this how long after you had already confronted your mother?
Not an evidence.
Sustained.
Comment.
Let's continue. Next question.
Yes, sir. Can you give us a time frame from when she picked you up at the airport to when you had confronted your mother about Casey's pregnancy?
Same fact, not in evidence. I've objected twice.
Sustained.
Look at him.
Did you have any discussions with your mother or your father about Casey's pregnancy when she picked you up at the airport?
No, I did not.
During the time period between the time you confronted your mother and the time that you had picked her up at the airport?
Let him finish answering the question. Sit down.
Wow. Yes.
Mr. Anthony, do not answer a question until I tell you can answer the question. Ask your question, Mr. Baez.
Yes, sir. Were there any discussions between the time that you confronted your mother and the time that you that Casey picked you up at the airport that had anything to do with Casey being pregnant?
Any objections to that question?
As rephrased, no, sir.
You may answer.
From the time I confronted her with that until that time, we never spoke about it again. No.
Okay. And when you say again, what does that mean?
Until just a few days before Kaylee was born.
Okay. And are you saying that the very first time there was any discussion about Casey's pregnancy was, other than the time you confronted your mother, was just a few days before Kaylee was born?
That's the only time it was acknowledged to me that that was indeed the situation. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So that, right. So the whole thing, there's a lot of weirdness about her being pregnant. Remember, again, there was that story from the beginning. We heard at the beginning of the trial. They went to this family wedding and like everybody was just, you know, by everybody, I should just be clear that it was Cindy and George that were just like, no, she's not pregnant. And it was like a weird thing. It was like hush, hush. Right. So, you know, Lee's like, yeah, it was obvious she was pregnant, but we never talked about it.
And when Kaylee was born, did you go to the hospital to see your sister?
Regrettably, no, I did not.
Interesting.
And why didn't you go?
I was a little hurt. Just didn't want to be there.
Who were you angry with?
Oh, no, do not. We need the tea. What?
Why were you hurt?
Relevance.
No, relevant. It's relevant. I want to know.
Can you explain to us the reasoning behind why your actions?
Relevance.
Jonah, may I approach so I can explain?
Yes, you may.
Yes, approach.
Tell us why you were angry and who you were angry with,
Oh, she's getting really emotional. Did they have a fight? Oh my God.
as to why you didn't go and see Kaylee and Casey at the hospital.
Interesting. Oh my God. Was it angry at George?
I was very angry at my mom, and
Oh,
I was also angry at my sister.
Wow.
I was just angry at everyone in general.
holy fuck.
They didn't want to include me. And
Okay, hang on. What is happening? Why is everybody getting really emotional all of a sudden? Holy fuck. Oh my God. You guys, what is happening?
Approach so I can explain.
Yes, you may.
No, thank you.
You may
Wow.
proceed, objection overruled.
Thank you. Mr. Anthony, can you tell us why you were angry and who you were angry with as to why you didn't go and see Kaylee and Casey at the hospital?
I was very angry at my mom, and I was also angry at my sister. I mean, I was just angry at everyone in general that they didn't want to include me, and
Right.
and didn't find it important enough to tell me, especially after I'd already asked.
Oh,
So I was very hurt.
wow.
And I didn't want to. I don't think I wanted to believe it. I'm sorry.
So it sounds to me like he's saying they didn't tell him that the baby was being delivered or she was going into labor or something like that because he wanted to be there. And that's the type of thing where once it's done, and then you missed it, right? That's what that sounds like. Wow. We don't know who the father, well, at this juncture, because I have not watched this trial, as you guys know, we don't, but to my knowledge, we never learn, and we don't at this point know who the father is, but there was a suspicion that he could have been the father at some point. Now, we did learn earlier in the trial that they did some type of testing and he was found to be negative, but I think the point that the defense wanted to get into is the fact that anybody thought it was necessary to test him was enough of like a thing, right? What's not been talked about in front of the cameras anyway is anything about George being the dad. We don't know. That's just not even come up. So it could be happening and we just don't know. Think about things that aren't talked about in front of the cameras, right? But with Lee, we know that the FBI tested him, and I don't know what type of test it was, but apparently they were like, he's not the dad. So that is confirmed, but we don't know who is. Hopefully that makes sense.
I'm sorry, what do you mean they didn't want to include?
Look at George, though. Everybody else in the family is crying. So you can tell Cindy's crying, but not George.
Yeah.
Interpretation of someone else's.
Everybody else is crying.
Were
Meanwhile,
you angry
George was in the delivery room with the baby being delivered, which is fucking weird.
because they hid the pregnancy from you?
Asked and answered and leading.
It is not.
Sustain as the leading.
Yeah, it's not asked and answered.
Do you need a moment, sir?
I'm okay.
Why were you angry? Asked and answered.
No.
Sustain.
Are there other reasons why you were angry?
Asked and answered.
Overruled as to that question.
Were there other reasons why you were angry?
No answer, sir. Other than the answer that you've already given, were there other reasons? Yes or no?
No.
Oh, shit. Huh. He was not expecting that answer.
You may.
Interesting. He was not expecting that answer. What is Lee not saying? Holy shit.
I have no further questions. Thank you, Mr. Anthony.
Okay, time is about 5 minutes to the hour of noon. We're
Huh.
going to recess for lunch. I'm going to ask that.
I'm wondering, was part of this because somebody was suspecting he was the dad at that time? I don't know. Jose Baez was expecting him to say there were other things he was upset about, and he said no. Interesting. Okay, they're going to lunch.
Discuss this case. Stay recognized, President of Jury. Mr. Ashton, you may be.
Draft Exhibit 80 in front of you.
Okay, great.
We
Now
begin by
we're-
publishing State's Exhibit 80 in evidence.
You may.
Mr. Anthony, you see the photograph State's Exhibit 80 in front of you.
Yes, sir, I do.
This is the photograph that you were discussing with Mr. Baez. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
That you indicated that there were stains pre-existent in this trunk from approximately this area, and then one that's off the picture. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
This large stained area on the spare tire cover, about the size of a basketball, that was not in the car when you owned it, was it?
I don't recognize that one as something I'm familiar with now.
And when you owned the car, it didn't have a stench, did it?
Didn't have what, I'm sorry?
Didn't have a stench, didn't stink?
No.
Overruled.
Dumbass fucking question.
I'm going to unpublish now, Judge, if I may. Now, Mr. Anthony, in preparation for this trial,
Over the neck brace.
were you requested to meet with a member of the prosecution team to go over your,
Beyond the scope.
it goes to bias, Your Honor,
Overruled.
to meet with a member of the prosecution team to go over your testimony to prepare you for what questions we would ask you on direct?
I believe so, yes.
And you refused to do that, did you not?
Yes, I did.
But Mr. Baez requested a meeting with you this week to prepare for this testimony, did he not?
To my knowledge, when he asked me, it was not to prepare for this testimony, and I had previously refused to meet with him prior to this week also. I had reached out to him prior to this week, and then we followed that up with a meeting earlier this week, yes, sir.
So you reached out to Mr. Baez?
Last week I did, yes, sir.
For what purpose?
Judge, I'm going to object and ask
real.
that the instruction be read
For
as
real.
requested by Mr. Ashton.
Your Honor, there's no implication of impropriety by counsel.
Overruled at this point. Let's continue.
Question was, why did you, after refusing to meet with anyone on the prosecution team, reach out to Mr. Baez?
While I was in court, the last time that I was in court, prior to me getting called onto the stand, during a break, I sat in with my folks, and there was a discussion, or I was present during a discussion where information came out that I thought it was important for Jose specifically to be made aware of. So I then took it upon myself a few days later, as I had no indication that he was going to be made aware of. I took it upon myself to do that.
And was this on the subjects that you have discussed under examination here today?
No, sir. None of those items were discussed. No.
Okay.
Now, you, in reference to your discovery of your sister's pregnancy, did I understand you to say on direct that you did have a conversation with Casey when you discovered what you refer to as the bump?
The bump overlap, another overlap there with Adelson's. Yeah, and the thing about the state with like the body in the trunk, they have to have something to try to make it seem like Casey, like that is literally the only thing they would have, right? Like, which even if it were true, shouldn't be enough, right? To connect it to like, but that's it. And let me just remind everybody too, that George also drove that car at that time. Like the car was owned by it got passed around in the family. It was Lee's first, but then it was Casey's and George's. They both drove that car. So even if the state could prove there was a body in there, which obviously they can't, it connects to both of them. But the state was willing to take that risk because you know what? That's literally all they had. They have nothing else to even connect any of it to Casey. That the car is their one thing. So.
If I said bump, I apologize.
Right.
No, I
recall
didn't
saying
mean offense by that, just the evidence that you thought.
I more or less made a remark. I don't know if I was even expecting a response because I didn't really get one. I just said something of kind of what the hell is that in passing.
You recall having your deposition taken on July the 30th of 2009, almost 2 years ago, in reference to this case.
Yes, I do.
And you were under oath at the time, were you not?
Yes, I was.
And you were questioned by Mr. George, is that correct?
Yes, I was.
And Mr. Myers was present along with other counsel, correct?
Yes, sir, he was.
This is for page 30. Let me start at 30.
I don't know
Page
why
31,
I heard from Mr. George.
line
so long.
6. Can we show that to the witness? Let me publish to the witness. All right, can you show about line 6 to line 15? Do you recall that series of questions and answers about the event of your seeing the bump or the bulge?
Bulge. That's what she said right there.
I recall this testimony, yes.
And in that testimony, you were asked whether you, I believe the word was, called her out on it, that being the bump.
Right.
Impeachment. The witness has already testified. It has refreshed his recollection.
This is impeachment, Judge. This is not.
Overruled.
And in that event, you said, when asked if you called her out on it, you said, it wasn't really my place. I think if I did, not directly to her. You recall saying that?
It's here, so yes.
So in July of 2009, you indicated that you did not say anything directly to her about it, but your testimony here today was that you did.
Well, sir, I also did not call her out on it when she showed up at the airport to pick me up, and it was quite obvious at that point as well. I don't know exactly which scenario this one's referring to. Maybe if you refer to a
Can we show the witness
date or time or something.
Can we show the witness page 30? And we'll let you read the whole context.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
No problem.
I would ask that counsel read his entire answer, not just half of it.
Read the entire answer.
Your Honor, if I may, the remainder of the answer does not deal with this subject matter. It deals with a separate subject matter.
Yes, sir.
Just a second. You can do it on redirect.
Have you read the context?
I didn't really have a starting point. I just kind of started in the middle. So would you like me to read that entire page?
Just to yourself, just to establish the context of whether this was the first occasion you saw the bulge or the airport occasion. This was a reference to the first occasion, wasn't it?
I've read that entire page.
What you were referring to the first time that you noticed, correct?
I do not recall. There's nothing in here that makes me think that that was unique to the first time or the incident at the airport. There's nothing specific asking me that.
Now, when your parents learned of the pregnancy, they were very.
Twiz is asking where the bulge is. I don't know. I have no idea. Y'all let me know if we find a bulge. I don't know the answer to that. I'm more interested in the anyway.
Very excited, weren't they?
Couldn't tell you, they didn't admit it to me.
Well, is it your testimony that from the time that you learned it till the date of CAYLEE'S birth, there was no activity in the home indicative of preparations for the birth of a child?
I'm not saying that at all. Actually, that was one of the reasons why I was so angry. And I decided not to go see my sister in the hospital, was because I was not included on it. And when I did ask about it one time early on, it was denied to me and I was told to let it go. So
he was left out. This goes to two things. His feelings were hurt because he was left out. But also, does this not maybe more so implicate George, guys, as the father, right? Because Lee's like upfront about it. Dude, he's like, yeah, she was pregnant. I commented on it, da-da-da. I'm telling you guys, maybe we should go back after he finishes and watch some of George because it is weird as fuck. And remember, oh my God, now it makes sense. Maybe that's why he was there when the baby was being delivered, because normally the father would be in the room. I hadn't thought of that part until now. I just kept thinking it was weird. Huh. I'll be honest. My instinct was always it would be George. I mean, I know that it was like there was thoughts that maybe it was him, and I know that he was, the FBI did that test or whatever. But my money would be on George. But I didn't even put 2 and 2 together because that's the whole thing, right? But the way that they excluded him, interesting, right?
That's what I did. Your parents were over the top
for
about
George.
this, weren't they?
Especially afterwards. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
No, even before. They were over the top. You've described them as over the top. Isn't that right?
My parents are very over the top. Prior to, my sisters actually having Kaylee, to be honest with you, I didn't really pay a lot of attention. It was something that I was told to let go and not address. And I was frankly quite angry that I wasn't included in it. So
interesting.
A little easier to block it out at that time.
So you said, Mr. Randy. Can we have page 35 of the deposition, please?
There he is. This is very interesting. I don't know what sliver moon means, but back this up a second. This is very interesting and important testimony. Let's listen again to some of this.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
No, even before. They were over the top. You've described them as over the top. Isn't that right?
My parents are.
The time that you learned it till the date of Kaylee's birth, there was no activity in the home indicative of preparations for the birth of a child?
I'm not saying that at all. Actually, that was one of the reasons why I was so angry. And I decided not to go see my sister in the hospital, was because I was not included on it. And when I did.
I will say it wasn't just him. The thing is those stories that we'll have to go back and watch some of this about how they acted at the wedding and shit. They hid it from everybody. That's what's so interesting. So it's not like it would be one thing if there just weren't any preparations made, where it's like no one knew she was pregnant except her, and then surprise baby. That'd be one thing. It's a different thing if there's preparations that are made so the parents are aware. And George completely denies it. George completely denies knowing she was pregnant and told she was giving birth, by the way. So preparations were made, but like literally don't tell anybody, even your own direct immediate family members. Keep it between George and Cindy and Casey. This is crazy.
Asked about it one time early on. It was denied to me, and I was told to
let it
go. So that's what I did.
Your parents were over the top about this, weren't they?
Especially afterwards. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
No, even before. They were over the top. You've described them as over the top. Isn't that right?
My parents are very over the top. Prior to, my sisters actually having Kaylee, to be honest with you, I didn't really pay a lot of attention. It was something that I was told to let go and not address. And I was frankly quite angry that I wasn't included in it. So
wow.
A little easier to block it out at that time.
So you said, Mr. Anthony. Can we have page 35 of the deposition, please?
Oh my God. Look at George though. Look at George. Dude. George.
Just read that whole page, Mr. Anthony, for me.
George with his freaking gas cans and his freaking duct tape.
Yes, sir.
To yourself.
Telling you guys.
Sorry, I'm just reading my last
paragraph
because I kind of ramble in there, so it's hard to get my point.
Lee's coming across again, just like with Cindy, coming across way better being called the defense. It's just funny. It's really funny. I wonder how George is going to be when
in that paragraph, you discuss the period of the pregnancy before Kaylee was born, correct?
Is that 14 through 23?
Yeah, the whole page.
The whole page? Yes, sir, yes.
This whole thing.
And in that, you indicate that that you felt your role was just to be there in the background to support, not really be over the top, because of course my parents wanted to be the ones to go over the top. They're grandparents, but just be there. That correctly reflects your parents' response to the imminent birth of their granddaughter, does it not?
In regards to them wanting to be over the top?
Yes, that is a description of their emotion, how they felt about it, their excitement. That's what you meant to convey by that, didn't you?
Speculation.
Asking what he meant to convey by the answer.
You can ask that question, yes or no.
I believe that was the impression that I was under. I mean, I wasn't asked to be involved with things, so all I could deduce from that is my role was to sit back, be non-judgmental, as I referenced in there, be in the background, and they would take care of it. They would do whatever's necessary, and their nature would be to be over the top.
What preparations of the house did they make for the imminent birth of Kaylee?
I believe they got her a crib.
Didn't they
What
redecorate?
else? I don't remember.
Didn't they redecorate an entire room? What had formerly been a family computer room that they completely redecorated for Kaylee?
To my knowledge, yes. I wasn't personally involved in it, but to my knowledge, yes.
But you saw it, correct?
After the fact, yes, sir.
Right. And it's, your parents, particularly your mother, never does anything halfway. It was decorated to the nines, wasn't it?
From everything that I've...
Twiz, if memory serves, I think they're about 4 years apart. I think they're about 4 years apart. It could be a little bit more than that.
I got to see eventually,
I
absolutely.
think maybe 3 or 4 years rings a bell.
Yes, sir, it was.
And that was in preparation for Kaylee's arrival.
I imagine during preparation it was like that. If she would do everything she could. Yes, sir.
Well, you were there during the period of time leading up to Kaylee's birth, weren't you?
I lived there. I lived in the room right next door, actually.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you know that
right. There's somebody, I think I commented, but I don't like, I paused it when I commented, but yeah, there's definitely a dude with a neck
your
brace.
mother went nuts decorating this room for the birth of her first grandchild. Winnie the Pooh everywhere.
I know there was Winnie the Pooh everywhere. Again, I never walked in the room. I never went into the room.
This does not help. I don't know why Mr. Ashton's, because here's the thing. The more he tries to play up the way that Cindy was so excited and decorated and all that shit, it just makes it even weirder that all of the testimony at the wedding that the family went to right before she gave birth, all of the testimony was that the parents flat out denied it over and over and over again. So this is not helping, I don't think, Mr. Ash. I mean, it's like these prosecutors are just like, again, they never had a case to begin with. Like I keep giving the example. It's like, never mind a wagon or wheels falling off the wagon. They didn't even have a full piece of wood to even start building a wagon. But nonetheless, they still seem to find the need to continually dig themselves more holes to then like fall into or something. It's crazy.
Room until a little bit after the fact that after she was born. But I could imagine that she did that ahead of time. Absolutely.
And your mother and your sister went shopping and bought all kinds of stuff in anticipation.
He seems to be in a good enough mood, the dude, though, with the neck brace.
Kaylee's birth.
I'm sure they did.
And they had a party, didn't they?
If they did, I wasn't invited.
Should they have a baby shower?
There's no testimony about this.
If they did, I wasn't invited.
There's been no.
Were you aware?
We don't know about the baby shower. That's been brought up, but no one. We don't know. We don't know. I feel like there was a question asked about it. Nobody knew.
Of them having a baby shower?
Yes, I believe so. It was in maybe June or so.
And they invited their friends. They invited Casey's friends. Did they invite Mallory?
I don't believe so.
You believe so?
I said I don't believe so.
But you know that they had a party.
I wasn't invited. So if whatever did transpire, I have no knowledge of it.
Well, where were you when the party occurred? It happened. Let me rephrase. It happened at the house, correct?
I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you saw the aftermath. You saw the presents and all the stuff that people got for Kaylee. It was at the house, right?
I didn't put any thought into it. I didn't ask to see presents, and I didn't go out of my way to do so. It was something, sir, that I was not involved in. It was something, sir, that was, I felt for a while, that was either hidden from me or something that I was not being made a part of. So I'm not going to go out of my way to invite myself or to know everything that's going on if I'm led to believe that I shouldn't be involved with it. So if that hopefully answers your question on why I wasn't an attentive potential uncle, I wish I was, but I was not.
Wow.
But your parents weren't hiding this fact from their friends and loved ones.
They weren't.
Invited you to a party.
The thing is, dude, again, the first testimony in this entire fucking trial elicited by the state was exactly that. They were hiding it. I hate Mr. Ashton so much. Okay.
This witness's knowledge of what his parents would do with their friends.
This is thing.
I don't even know.
During this deposition,
Heather says that's fucking weird. I don't even know which thing. There's so many things. Can you be specific?
Mr. Anthony, we discussed the period of time leading up to the birth of your niece. And we discussed, in fact, whether you were present when she was born. Is that correct? Recall that?
I don't recall if we did, if as far as me being present or not.
Okay. Page 36, just for the witness, line, let me just make sure this is only published for the witness. Yes. Line 22 and to the end of the page, just hang like that for the witness. You recall that question and answer?
I see the portion of my answer, yes, sir, and I recall the question.
Did you cry during that portion of this deposition, Mr. Anthony? To your recollection?
Don't recall if I did. I don't think so.
What was different 2 hours ago in this courtroom about that question that caused such raw emotion today, which was not present 2 years ago when you were asked the same thing?
There was other things that were asked in my deposition, specifically if I believed Kaylee was indeed-
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive, move to strike. The question, Mr. Anthony, is this.
Yes, sir.
What was different about the question being asked of you?
I think we need to hear what the answer is.
I
before we
sustain
strike.
the objection to the question.
Question before you, Mr. Anthony, is this. What was different about the way, the emotion with which you answered that question 2 hours ago? It was different than the emotion that you did not display when asked the same question 2 years ago.
2 years ago, I did not 100% hold the belief that Kaylee was dead at this very moment, and 2 hours ago. And during that 2 year span, I've come to the place where I believe that she is. And my emotions are elicited from those facts that I have regrets, and I wish I could have been there a lot more than I was.
Mr. Anthony,
Great question.
you attended and spoke at a memorial service for Kaylee in January of 2009, 6 months before this deposition was taken, didn't you?
Yes, sir, I did.
No further questions.
Redirect us to those issues.
Mr. Anthony, you were asked about. Can I see that? You were asked about a stain somewhere in this vicinity, the size of a basketball. May I publish this, Your Honor, to both the jury and
Yes, what's the exhibit number?
80.
States Exhibit 80. You may publish.
Yes, I was asked about that.
Do you see a basketball-sized stain there, or I mean, do
Photograph speaks for itself.
you see any basketball-sized stain there at all?
I see a few stains. Nothing necessarily that's the size of a basketball, no.
Do you see white powder of some sort?
The photograph speaks for itself. The witness has no basis to answer that question.
I do, and that's not what I would even reference necessarily as a stain that I was referring to. A white powder is a lot different than a stain.
Point to me where you see a stain in that area where Mr. Ashton was questioning you about. If you see one.
In this section, I do not. It's very hard to see from this photo, but there is a stain here and there's a stain here. There's also things that are circling right here at B. There looks like a different color, maybe powder or some kind of substance. I don't know exactly what that is, but the stains I referred to were darker in nature, almost like I apologize, I'm colorblind, so my interpretation of them might be a little different, but more like a red or like a black, sort of just a darker, deeper color.
Did you see your mother use a entire bottle of Febreze in the trunk of this car?
Seeks the scope of cross.
Never.
Did you see law enforcement spray the entire trunk with a Blue Star?
I don't even know what that is, and no.
Okay. Now, Mr. Ashton asked you about whether you had met with myself in reference to your testimony. Did you meet with the defense at any time prior to trial? Let me rephrase that. Let me narrow that down a bit.
Okay.
Did you meet with the defense prior to you testifying for the state of Florida against your sister?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay. Did you advise us of any testimony you intended to give for the state of Florida against your sister?
No, sir.
Did you testify truthfully when you testified for the state of Florida?
Sustain.
Can I bring up page 31? The question and answer asked by during his deposition. I'd like to question the witness about it, Your Honor.
You can question him, but show it to the witness and the witness alone. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Page 31.
What page?
I'm double checking where. Can you go to 30? Sorry.
Page what?
30. I'm just double checking. I want to follow up on a question.
It's so funny. Like, I can't relate to being a person who's like, I don't even know what Blue Star is. Like, you know what I mean? Hi, Kate. Like that is so crazy. Don't they have, you're talking about, what are you talking about with this case or, oh God. Yeah, the stains were there when they bought the car. And there's been like, yeah, the stains are done. But I feel like was this an autopsy question about the body, or am I just, is that about something else? Let's see here. I guess we'll have to wait and find out if that's a question that still needs answering as it pertains to this case.
31, I'm sorry. 31. You were asked, can you review lines 12 through 14?
I've read 12 through 14.
Okay. And you were asked during cross-examination, and the first sentence was read into evidence. Can you read the second sentence?
The second sentence says, I think if I did, not to her directly.
Or?
Third sentence is, or I would have had, or excuse me, or I would have said something to my mom or to a friend of mine, you know.
And that's what you were referring to when you testified about telling your mother?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
That's what you were referring to when you testified, that when you first told your mother?
I first asked her about it, yes, sir.
Okay. So what you said in the deposition is what you testified to?
Misstating what's in the record, not what he said.
It's not. The witness can answer if it's true or not.
Witness can't change the answer.
Folks, if you want to read the answer in the deposition, you can read it. It will speak for itself. So if you want to read the entire answer, read the answer.
That, we just did that, Judge.
Okay.
That's fine. I'm
It speaks for itself.
Yes, sir. And sir, when you testified in the cross-examination, you said that you were told to let it go. Who told you to let it go?
My mom told me to let it go.
And that's referring to your inquiries about Casey's pregnancy.
My inquiry, yes.
And can I have page 33? Lines 13 through 18. Page 33, lines 13 through 18, if you can bring them up a bit. I'd like for you to look this over, if you can, Mr. Anthony.
I read it.
Now, during cross-examination, Mr. Ashton suggested to you that that your parents were over the top and ecstatic. But that's not necessarily what.
Overruled. He hasn't finished the question. Let him finish asking the question.
Is
Mr.
that
Anthony, before you answer the question, wait for me to tell you whether or not you can answer the question. You may ask your question, Mr. Baez.
Mr. Ashton mentioned that your parents were over the top of happiness prior to Kaylee being born. Is that what you testified to in your deposition?
That's a good question.
I believe it's to the extent of that in my deposition, yes.
Are there any other opinions you gave about your mother not being happy or not thrilled?
Yes. I gave an opinion that was my impression or thoughts that she was not thrilled that Casey would have a baby out of wedlock.
And the baby shower that was had for Kaylee, that actually occurred after Kaylee was born, did it not?
Oh, remember when I said there was some funny business about baby shower? There we go.
Question.
Did
That makes
Kaylee's
sense.
baby shower occur after she was born, since everyone didn't know she was pregnant?
Objection assumes a fact not in evidence. Move to strike.
I'll rephrase the question.
Sustained. Rephrase your question.
Did Kaylee's baby shower occur after Kaylee was born?
I don't recall. For sure, I don't recall. I'm sorry.
You were asked why you didn't cry during the deposition.
Yes, sir.
Is sitting here today much different than sitting in the state attorney's office 2 years ago?
Over oath.
Absolutely.
And can you share with the ladies and gentlemen of the jury why?
Oh my God.
I don't want to be here. I don't want, my sister to be here, my parents to be here. And I'm also emotionally and all that stuff in a much different place, than I was a couple of years ago. And this is obviously just very, very emotionally draining and very difficult.
Understandably
Mr. Ashton asked you
so.
about giving a speech at Kaylee's memorial prior to your deposition.
George.
And you testified about at your deposition, not believing Kaylee was dead. Is that correct?
I was not willing to write it off at that point in time. I didn't want to believe it, and I couldn't believe it at that time.
So you were able, after having a funeral.
Okay. I see what it's right. So there's that question. So here's the thing. It came out in the state's case in chief during, I think it was the first time Cindy Anthony testified. It came out that right up until trial, like literally up until trial, that Cindy Anthony was still looking for Zenaida Gonzalez. And I think if memory serves, even after there was a body found, they still had a private investigator trying to find Kaylee. So how I interpret this, yes, they had the body. They had the body December of 2008. So again, went missing in June, reported missing in July, had the body by December of 2008. So in other words, possibilities here could be that similarly to the mom, like, could it be that they didn't think this was actually her? Did they think that she was still out there? I mean, the psychology of Cindy and Lee, I think, are completely different, but it could be that because the mom believed it. I don't know. I think for me, I would say Lee maybe was more of like in denial. You know what I mean? That would make sense. I could see that maybe. But yes, they had the body, and again, Cindy, it sounds like were it not for this trial, Cindy would still have been actively searching for Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez. And the only thing that stopped her is because now she's sitting in court all day. Like she thinks she's still going to find her or something. So I don't know.
For your niece to block her death out of your emotions for approximately 6 months?
Objection, leading.
Sustained.
Were you able to block that emotion out of your, compartmentalize it?
Same objection, same question.
Sustained.
What were you able to do in regards to the death of your niece emotionally for 6 months?
I don't know the exact time frame. I don't even know when I really came to the belief that I have now that she is no longer with us. I mean, I could still say even with that belief, if there's someone that looked familiar to her today, it would turn my head in. It would make me look twice or 3 times or 100 times.
Interesting.
I don't know when I really,
there you go,
that
Twiz.
really changed for me. I know last year was particularly hard for me around Kaylee's birthday and my birthday.
Wow.
But during the time of the deposition specifically, and they had even asked me at one point if I believed that she was dead. And I remember it being a big joke to some people that I didn't want to believe it or couldn't believe it. At the time, I didn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And right now I do. So I have a very, very tough time with that.
Who was it a joke to?
Relevance.
Sustained.
have no further questions.
Rick Ross?
Wow.
Mr. Anthony, you remember when you testified for the state of Florida? State of Florida, remember?
Shut the fuck up, Mr. That's disgusting.
July 2009, I think you referenced it earlier.
No,
Yes,
no,
sir.
when you testified for the state of Florida, as Mr. Bias pointed to.
Just, oh, yes, sir. I apologize. Yes, sir.
How many times did Mr.
Like,
George have to?
Here's the thing. He's so emotional. And just the way that I can't fathom this, right? He's like, dude, he's trying to hold it together. What is wrong with these people?
Step up to you and show you your deposition to refresh your recollection about.
Objection, Judge.
Gross.
The record speaks for itself.
Goes to bias you are.
And relevance.
Overruled.
Probably as many times as I've been showed something here today by yourself or Mr. Baez. Well, a handful of times, 2-3 times. I don't recall. I wasn't counting.
In your direct examination by Mr. Bias, did he need to refresh your recollection at all? I don't.
He referenced me. He did reference me to a few pages that he asked me to read. I don't believe he qualified anything to say that he needed to refresh my recollection. No, sir.
During his initial direct examination, your testimony is you recalled him having to refresh your recollection.
I don't believe so.
No, your recollection was just fine for the questions that Mr. Bias asked you in his initial direct, weren't they?
On all these, I believe they were, yeah.
But when Mr. George attempted to question you on direct examination, your memory was more troublesome.
It's hard to remember something you did 2 years ago. Absolutely.
Could I have, just for myself in the witness, page 31, the deposition? Page 17, line 17 through 24. I'm sorry, line 15 through 24, please. You were asked the question at the deposition, did you say anything to your mom? Say, hey, Casey's looking. And your answer was probably, at a minimum, probably of passing. I don't think I ever made a big enough deal because, if my mom didn't make it a big deal or if she shrugged me off or whatever reason. It is impeachment, Your Honor.
Overruled.
She shrugged me off for whatever reason, then either I was wrong or my sister was just getting fat, or for whatever reason, they don't really want me involved in it. Whatever, either way. So at deposition, your recollection was at best that you probably spoke to your mother.
That's what this says here is probably. I do remember speaking to my mother, but that says probably.
So your recollection is better today than in July of
They
2009.
can't. They
You assume that
don't
the
have
witness
any
said
way to
probably
even
today?
do it.
Well, you will admit that your recitation seems to be somewhat not a big deal. Don't really remember it very well, correct?
Argumentative.
Sustain this for the last question.
You said probably at minimum of passing. I don't think I ever made a big deal.
Excuse me, Mr. Ashton. My objection is this has been asked and answered. He's read this already.
Sustain.
If we could go to page 33, please. Lines 1 through 8. Read that, please.
To myself?
Yes, to yourself.
Thank you.
And if you need to see the page before, I'll be happy to show it to you. But
Redirect. Try.
Mr. Ashton.
yes, Judge, it's in reference to when the baby shower and the preparations were.
Overruled.
In that, you indicate, does that refresh your
He's
recollection
like
about
this.
that the baby shower was in the months preceding?
He's in big
Kaylee's
trouble
birth?
with the bench actually
yes.
now.
No further questions.
Mr. Baez, any additional questions? Remember when you,
Oh my God.
okay, Mr. Anthony, you may stand down, sir.
Yes, sir.
So they do something else before they call another witness. Oh my God, she's back again. Okay.
Anthony, CYNTHIA, Anthony,
My
ANTHONY.
God.
You may proceed.
Mrs. Anthony, when was Kaylee's baby shower?
Oh.
It was postponed because of her birth. I believe it was around the 27th of August.
What?
Was it before or
That makes
after
no
Kaylee was
sense.
born?
Kaylee was supposed to be born in September. We had the shower slated for August the 13th, and Kaylee was born on the 9th. So I had to switch the invitations. I had to contact everybody and change the date of the baby shower.
So just so we're clear though, what was it? The baby shower held before Kaylee was born or after Kaylee was born?
I just stated it was after Kaylee was born because Kaylee came a month early.
I understand. I just wanted to be clear about that. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
So she's still emotional, by the way, from Lee's testimony. Remember, they were all losing it except George. So this is directly after Lee. So she's still emotional from Lee's testimony.
What is that a photograph of? Defense, sorry, excuse me. I'm showing you defense exhibit ER.
Series of photographs to me, and I do have an objection to all of them on relevance.
Pardon?
Mr. Bias has shown these photographs to me, and I have an objection to the series of them on grounds of relevance.
Okay, we'll wait till you get rid of it off.
Well, I object to a description of the photograph prior to its admission.
Okay. All you need to do is establish that she recognizes it, whether or not it adequately and accurately describes the subject matter that they're in. And you can offer them and we'll see if they object.
They have
Do you
no
re-
way to prove
recognize
it,
the
not
photograph,
even
Mrs. Anthony?
close.
Yes.
Is it a true and accurate depiction of what it actually is?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, I would move exhibit, I believe it was ER, into evidence.
It's not. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. That I would have an objection at this point, as indicated on relevance grounds.
They're objecting to
You wanna
everything.
approach the sidebar, Mr. Baez?
Yes, sir.
Direct examination.
Yes, sir. May I approach the witness?
Yes, sir.
Is it a photograph that was taken at your brother's wedding?
Yes.
And back to the wedding. Here we go.
And is it a photograph of you and your daughter?
Yes.
And at the time that that photograph was taken, did you believe that your daughter
Yeah,
was
I
pregnant?
don't think she.
No, I did not.
Did anyone advise you that your daughter was pregnant?
Exception to the hearsay rule, Mr. Baez?
No, withdraw the question.
Okay.
Judge, at this time, I will move this evidence. That's exhibit A.
State,
Same objection as previously lodged on relevance.
objection to be overruled. Again, that would be admitted.
Mrs. Anthony, who attended the baby shower?
Casey's grandmothers, her aunts, some of my friends, Jesse Gren's mother, neighbors.
Was Lee present?
No, none of the guys were present.
I have no further questions.
You may.
No, I forgot to put direct examination.
Cross-examination. The witness may stand down.
Thank
you. Okay. So now, no, we are going to take a look at some George here, like I referenced. Hold on. Let me share this. Okay. Here we go. I'm just going to try to find the part where they get to the being pregnant part and the baby, all that shit is so weird. Okay, so that confirms a 4-year age difference, like I thought. I said, so there you go. 4-year age difference between Lee and Casey. Okay, perfect. So I just want to note, this is less than 8 minutes into his testimony. This is the very first witness of the entire trial. Less than 8 minutes in, this comes up, the pregnancy. Here we go. Oh,
2005. How did you learn?
sorry, that was not shared to you guys. So I just wanted to show. Okay, here we go. So less than 8 minutes in, and he's asking the question about being pregnant.
He has been very fortunate. She's only had 2 positions of employment since we've been here all these years.
Now, did there come a point in time when you learned that your daughter was pregnant?
Yes, I did. I think it was like May or June of 2005.
How did you learn that she was pregnant?
My daughter and my wife set me down in our living room and said they had something to tell me. And first hearing about it, extremely excited to be a grandfather, to see my daughter be a mother, but also concerns about, how she's going to raise this child because she's a single mom. I never really thought too much about who the father could be. That was a discussion I wanted to have maybe a little bit later. I wanted my daughter first to be happy, to get through the pregnancy fine, to enjoy that special time of becoming a mother, that I thought was very important.
Now, you kind of touched on this a little bit. At the time that you learned of the pregnancy, your daughter was not married at the time. Sorry, was she?
Yeah, Casey's never been married.
At the time that you learned of the pregnancy, was she involved with someone where you would sort of assume that that person was the father?
Well, I really wasn't sure if Casey, I know Casey had dated at different times over the years, but I really wasn't sure about who she was maybe seeing on a more serious basis or anything like that. No, sir.
So how did you and your wife begin to prepare for the arrival of a grandchild?
Oh, just doing everything we can to make Casey's life as easy as possible for
our grandchild, getting a chance to go to different times when she was going to be examined. Went through the ultrasound.
Did you go?
Absolutely, I did. And when I got a chance to see that it was considered, I think it's called a pancake, I think it's the term, or something like that, of when you can see it's going to be a girl.
Okay.
Maybe that's not the proper terminology, but I was very excited. I mean, if having a grandson would have been terrific, but just knowing that she was going to be a mother and not to be grandparents, it wouldn't have mattered. She could have had 3 or 4 children at once. It would have been fine with me. I just was excited.
At the time that you learned of the pregnancy, was Casey living under your roof?
Casey has always lived with us, yes.
Now, was she in school at that time? The time you learned of the pregnancy? Or had she already finished high school?
She already had finished high school.
To your knowledge, at that point, was she working?
She was working for a company called Color Vision, which is a subcontractor for Universal Studios.
Was it your understanding that that was one of those companies that take your picture when you walk in the front door and then offer to sell it to you later, that kind of thing?
Yes.
All right. So during your preparations for this, was there any question among the 3 of you as to where Casey and your grandchild would live after she was born?
No, I mean, we opened up, she's always lived at home, and we thought that would be not thought, but we knew that having Kaylee with us, or knowing that our grandchild could live with us until Casey got more established, better on her own, possibly job promotion or whatever it might be, she would stay with us until the time she felt that she wanted to leave.
Now, you mentioned home. Where was home?
Home is 4937 Hope Spring Drive, where we've lived since 1989.
Since when?
Since 1989.
89. And was that a house that you all purchased?
We were going to be moving down here, and what they said.
Could we show the witness states exhibit AN for it to be raised?
There's the house.
Where were you when you found out? I'll try and help you with this. Where were you when you found out that it was time?
We were, Cindy, Casey, and I were all at home. And Casey had been starting to become a little bit ill, or she was showing signs of possible labor. I mean, she was throwing up. You know, she had some other small issues that made us think, okay, maybe this is something that's going on. That's something we need to look into and get her some assistance. So we took her up to the
Get her some assistance when
to
she's
the hospital, and
going into labor.
in a few
What?
short hours, you know, the doctor was called in, her pediatrician, and
You mean her obstetrician?
obstetrician. I'm sorry,
That's okay.
Obstetrician, yes, and the lady helped her bring Kaylee into the world.
Were you actually there in the delivery room, or did you have to wait outside?
Oh, I was in the delivery room. I was in the delivery room for my own 2 children, but also being there for Kaylee, which was, to me, not only amazing, but also embarrassing to a point.
Sure.
And if I might say that there's sometimes in your life as a father, there's some things of your child you don't want to see again growing up. But you know something, it's just an experience that it's hard to put into words just how elated you are and how happy you are to see your own child give birth to another child. It's just amazing.
And was the birth, Kaylee okay?
Kaylee was fine. I mean, there was a little complication here or there, but it wasn't anything that the doctor couldn't take care of, because the doctor was right there the whole time, and other
Obviously.
nurses and things like that. So it was well taken care of.
Now, during the pregnancy, at some point,
Yeah, I agree,
was the
Twiz.
subject broached about who the father of Kaylee was or was thought to be?
I can't remember if we exactly talked about it prior to just Kaylee being born or right after, but I know then it was brought up because, yeah, I wanted to know, because I feel it takes 2 to make this child, and this
Really?
father
Does
needs
it?
to be made aware of that
Thank
he's
you.
going to be a father and who he could possibly be, and it'd be great to meet him and see what his obligation would be. And I felt whoever the father's needs to have an obligation for the birth of his child.
Did you have an occasion then to meet the person that, at least at that point, was thought to be the father?
There was a name brought up that Casey believed could have been the father. All I know is the last name was Baker, I believe, and that was about it.
The other thing, just if George is the father and Casey cannot tell that secret, maybe she's been, threatened or whatever the case may be, it could explain why no one ever figured out who the dad was, right? Because that is crazy, right? Like, I don't know.
But if I can take another step forward, Casey also had been seeing another gentleman who had been employed at Universal Studios by the name of Jesse, that I got to understand and get to know that he could have also been the father. So he was, one of.
Okay.
But they weren't.
Now, when did you first meet Jesse?
I met Jesse for the very first time on the day that CAYLEE was born. That had been August 9th.
How did that go?
I'm not very well, truthfully. I mean, I was elated to be there to see my daughter, to see my granddaughter.
So I'm going to go
But Jesse did not make the best first impression.
forward a little bit.
Now, after CAYLEE was born, did she and Casey return to your home?
Yes, I think that next, it could have been
Group with CAYLEE as
her and just CAYLEE and Casey.
that Jesse was in fact not the father of CAYLEE. As CAYLEE grew, what was your role in her upbringing in her life?
I'm just her grandfather. I mean, I probably acted sometimes maybe like as a father with her because I was around her every day or nearly every single day. And to me, that was pretty awesome to have not only my daughter there, but also to have my granddaughter to be around. That's just, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, you have to give that probably a 20 or better because it's double the excitement.
Every answer he gives is fucking weird.
Now, what role did Cindy take in?
So I'm just to find the part about the wedding thing where they talk more about how he's like didn't know she was pregnant. I think that comes up. I think it's on Cross. Let me just see where this is.
Day that you knew she was pregnant and you just didn't want him to know, or
Okay, perfect. Go back a little bit. Happened to hit it right on the money, pretty much.
And place it over the nose and mouth of CAYLEE Anthony?
No, I did not.
Did you have any role? Or any
Wait,
knowledge?
let's watch that part again. Interesting. Wow.
Now, let me just ask you a couple of questions. When you were a law enforcement officer, were you trained in CPR?
Yes, sir.
Is there any extent that you would not have gone to save CAYLEE'S life?
I would have done everything possible, humanly possible, to save my granddaughter. If what was stated prior would have happened, I would have done anything I would to save my granddaughter.
Did you dispose of the body of your granddaughter?
No, I did not.
Did you obtain duct tape from your shed or garage and place it over the nose and mouth of CAYLEE Anthony?
No, I did not.
Did you have any role or any knowledge that CAYLEE Marie Anthony died on June 16th, 2008, prior to recent revelations?
No, sir. I never had any duct tape. I never knew of anything that happened to CAYLEE until our life started to unfold on July 15th, 2008, and when CAYLEE was found on December 11th.
Interesting. He says that I never had any duct tape. He didn't say he didn't actually answer the question. The question was, did you take the duct tape and put it over her mouth, nose, or whatever? He says, I never had any duct tape, which is interesting because we know he had duct tape and we know he used it to hang up the flyers and we know it was the same duct tape that was found on the remains.
Your Honor, I have no further questions of the witness at this time. I would like to reserve the right to recall him for additional areas of testimony.
I mean, he gets recalled a million times.
Examination.
All right. So now we're going to hear about the wedding thing. No actual tears from him.
Mr. Anthony, when did you first find out your daughter was pregnant?
Yes.
I believe it was sometime in May or June of 2005.
So she was 7 months pregnant when you first found out?
6, 7 months. It could have been right around that time, yes.
Right.
Do you recall going to a wedding that whereas...
So you see why I wanted to go back to this? Because Lee testified that it was obvious she was pregnant, right? But also that they'd been making all these preparations and shit at the house. And he was told that he wasn't allowed to be involved or whatever.
Cindy's brother's wedding.
I went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I did not attend the wedding.
Were you ever confronted by Rick, her brother, about Casey's pregnancy?
We had a brief discussion about it, but I told Rick it was none of his concern, none of his business. Whatever was going on with Casey would be taken. It would be handled through Cindy and I. We're there for Casey. You don't have to worry about it.
So is it your testimony today that you knew she was pregnant and you just didn't want him to know, or you didn't know she was pregnant at the time?
I didn't have an exact knowledge of the time that she was. When I found out that she was pregnant, I didn't have that exact knowledge at the time. Did I have a feeling? Possibly yes, no, but no. I mean, I did see a change physically in Casey, but nothing.
What about, again, the whole thing, they converted a room into a baby room, right? With all the Winnie the Pooh shit. This is insane.
I know that Cindy and I weren't going to, help her with or attend to.
So the photograph that you saw here today.
Yeah, he was law enforcement. Now he is really fishier on his answer about why he didn't continue with law enforcement when he moved to Florida. I think it's from everything that I've seen with the timeline with this, for all the testimony that's come out. It seems like what happened was he couldn't return to law enforcement because he was convicted of like something like, a felony, something serious enough to where he couldn't anymore. So he instead was like selling used cars and then worked as a security guard, but he couldn't continue being law enforcement. I've tried to find out what he was convicted and did time for. I've not been able to find it. If anyone wants to look for that, feel free. I think it was probably when they were still living in Ohio, whatever the thing was he did. I think it was probably in Ohio.
Don't believe.
Before they moved to Florida.
Yes.
Okay, so they're going to get this photo in.
Is
representation of Casey when he went to the wedding?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I did not attend the wedding. I was there, but I didn't go to the wedding that day. But as far as that being Casey and
not invited
and Cindy together, yes.
Weird.
So we can all be clear,
Just a
Mr.
second, just a second. You may proceed.
So we can all be clear, Mr. Anthony. Did you know your daughter was pregnant the day the photograph was taken?
Not exactly. I mean, I had a feeling that she was.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Like I've said,
it makes no sense because again, even if you, the way she looks, and we're going to see the picture, it's obvious. But beyond that, the fact that they were making all these preparations at the house and shit.
Like I've stated, until we knew for sure, until we could take her in for some kind of test or something like that.
So the answer is no?
Yeah, the answer is no. I mean, do I feel, does it look like it at that point, that photograph? Yeah, possibly.
I didn't ask you that.
Possibly.
I just asked you, did you know if your daughter was pregnant the day that photograph was taken? Your answer is no?
No, not exactly no. No.
And you were a father of two?
Yes.
You were a father of two when that photo was taken?
Yes.
And is it your idea that your daughter had a beer belly?
I think the term was considered at one point maybe with retaining water or something like that. It's possible. I mean, I didn't believe that my daughter could be going to have a child right at that time, but stuff happens. I mean, it's.
Did anyone know that Casey was pregnant when that photograph was taken? Anyone outside?
Sustain.
Did you tell anyone at that time that Casey was pregnant?
No, not at that time. I did not know.
And when you were confronted with her pregnancy, you didn't want to talk about it, did you?
The first time I heard about Casey expecting a child is when Cindy and Casey came back to our house and we sat down on the couch together, or very close to the proximity of our couch in our house. And Casey and Cindy told me that they have something that they wanted to tell me about.
And you didn't have a clue that Casey was pregnant up until that moment?
Like I said, maybe a feeling or an intuition to a point, but
why? Because you were
when they told me, I was elated. I was excited.
You have no problems with your vision, do you, sir?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay. And was there an explanation given by your daughter lived with you, did she not?
Yes.
Every day?
Every day.
And you saw her every day?
Pretty much so. I'd say probably 99% of the time I would see her, yes.
And 6 months prior to that photograph being taken, did you see her retaining water then?
Well, I really don't believe that you see a person or a woman. Each woman is made up differently.
Oh my God.
Each woman is going to show a pregnancy
My
differently.
question to you, sir, is 6 months prior to the photograph being taken, did you see your daughter retaining water then?
6 months? No, did not.
Have you, prior to Casey being pregnant, had you ever seen her retaining water prior to that?
When Casey was younger, I know she put on weight here and there when she was involved with athletics and things like that. Casey was a very athletic young lady growing up.
And when she was younger and putting on weight due to being in athletics, did the weight gain in her stomach or elsewhere?
Yeah.
Stomach, it could be in her hindside or her butt. Some people would consider it could be in her shoulders, and she would work out and it would sort of go away. She was an avid runner.
So an avid runner.
So as she was an avid runner, she would gain a belly.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying through her activity, if she wouldn't be, she'd be running as much or being as active, I think anyone is going to put on weight with inactivity.
Wait.
Now, you
Now
mentioned
he's saying puts on weight due to inactivity, but he just said puts on weight due to being active.
that you were in the delivery room. Is that correct?
Yes.
And
Who's
you
willing?
you assisted in the delivery?
No, I did not assist. I was there and observed my granddaughter being delivered.
And you didn't know who the father was up until that day?
No, I did not. Did not know that.
You didn't ask?
Not up to that point, I didn't, because when I found out that I was going to be a grandfather, Casey was expecting a child, and we went through the different tests, and we went.
My question to you, sir, is did you ask?
I think it was right shortly thereafter, or right around, maybe just before she had delivery. I'm not sure of the exact time when I finally did ask. And I remember a name of Baker was brought up.
So the answer is yes, you did ask.
Yes.
Now, how soon after finding out that your only daughter is pregnant did you ask? Who's the father?
I don't know. It could have been, like I said, just prior to her delivering Kaylee.
So
I'm
now
not really sure. I don't have an exact timetable. You're asking me to be specific.
Just a second. Please let the witness finish answering the question before there's another question.
Yes, sir.
Continue.
Are you finished, sir?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Now, after you find out your daughter is going to be giving birth to your first grandchild, how long after did she give birth?
Well, if I just found out in May or June, we had Kaylee was delivered in August. So it was over 2 to 3 months, you know, give or take a few weeks.
So in the entire 2 months, you never stopped your daughter and asked her, who is the father of this child?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right?
You didn't ask her up until just before
It's weird.
the child was born.
Sustain.
The day after, or the day you were confronted with this news, did you hold a party or anything like that?
No, just
a baby shower?
Mr. Anthony, did you answer the question, sir?
The day that I found out that I was going to be a grandfather, when I first got the news of Casey's pregnancy, and it was only Cindy, Casey, and I at our house.
Now, you testified under direct examination that you thought your daughter was working. Did you not?
Yes.
Do you recall speaking to the FBI on July 31st?
Now they're on to a different line of questioning. So that's pretty, I mean, I think they probably get into this with his other times that he testifies, but this is that was the part I wanted to go back to from this first time testifying about the circumstances around being pregnant and who's the dad and all that. So, yeah, so there you go. That's George's testimony. So, what we have coming up next time, guys, is, let's see here. We have some law enforcement testimony outside the presence of the jury. We'll have Yuri Malik, the lead detective, comes back. Dr. Kenneth Furton, so I guess some sort of expert there. Some more law enforcement. Oh, the PI that worked for them for a while is coming up. And then look at this. And then we're making our way towards Roy Kronk over here. That's going to be I'm super excited for that. Been waiting for that the whole trial. You can see here's the next time we hear from George, Cindy again, and George. So, more, and then, Roy Kronk comes back again. Anyway, so probably next time we will see, depends on how long they are, but we might get through, 3 or 4 of these, just depends. They're not grouped by length. So sometimes one of these clips, this is the court TV archive. Sometimes these are they can be 30 minutes, they can be 2 hours. It just kind of depends. So that's what we have coming up next time. So yeah, there you go, guys. I know profile F, right? No, he's G for George. So yeah, one more time for good measure. Let's take a look though at this beautiful little clip of the double extortion, just because it's amazing. Whenever I talk about this theory that I'm like, I don't even know how to explain it because it makes no sense. One more time, we'll put it. This is it. This is the whole thing right here. This is it.
I'm trying to tell her that this is a big deal. Like if we go to the police on the second extortion, they're going to catch the second extortion, and when they catch them, they're going to turn, and the second extortion is going to turn in the first extortion. And then when you catch the first extortion, the police are going to come talk to us. And then when we tell them what happened, you're going to be in a lot of danger. There's no way I can talk to the police. So by catching the second, it's going to turn in the first. And that's exactly what I say in there.
So this is the next guy. So yeah, law enforcement testimony. So yeah. Oh, also I wanted to do this one.
It's very big. It's very big.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. So yeah, that'll be, so also, by the way, I do have all the recent Delphi docs, so I'm probably going to do something with that here shortly too. We still need to do the Karen Reed recent documents. So that we might do that tomorrow, Karen Reed, I mean. We've got the motion to dismiss and then the Commonwealth's opposition and then the subsequent filings that came out after those. So we'll probably do those tomorrow, I think. What's who saying? What's who saying? The hand, right? I know the hand gesture is amazing. And then, yeah, we'll do another BK. So hopefully we'll have something come out, but we do need to finish going through the motion, the Judge Hippler denying the IGG and the Franks because we didn't finish those. So we'll do those too at some point soon here as well. Heather has a message for Glenn. Speaking of which,
I have that skirt.
Excellent. But yeah, that'll be it for this one, guys. So interesting stuff, right? This was very interesting. All family dynamics. And I'm sure, as always, I'll realize more things too. Whenever I'm doing timestamps, I always have like light bulb moments where I remember something else from a different part of the trial or whatever. And I'm like, whoa, you know. But I tend to make sure that those are included when we do the recaps for this this trial. So yeah. But other than that, y'all are awesome. Love the Squirrel Crew. You guys are the absolute freaking best. And I will see you guys next time. Squirrel out.